What a lovely day!
Welcome, Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show Special Edition. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Giuseppe Montesano, Naughty Thumbnails, Mitch Kennedy, Original D-Rose, Rod, The Name's Burley, Twad Wazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Travolta, JMails24, Unimento, M, Iron26, Endless, Goldie McKinnon, Phoenix Rising 86, Retro Bill, More Books, Cannabear, Bogey, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Mel B. Styles, Troy Shuker, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Neeland, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, Tina Baker, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now all that's left for me to do is wait for Jaron to join us in, where are we, in StreamYard. And as soon as he does, I'll pick up the conversation there. Good.
Well, don't sound so excited, Apocryphon. Jeez.
Just woke up. Sorry. Nah, just kidding. There's a few things that I wanted to go over. Hopefully, this is the before what we have like 20 minutes till the actual launch of the show. But Jaron should be here shortly as well. But so then I'll go over some things when he gets here. Is that okay? Sound about right?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, cool. We are, let me see here. So Hammer on the YouTube, we still have the countdown, correct? Going down.
Yeah, do you want me to play all that?
Probably, I don't know. What do you think?
He just tested it. He tested it a moment ago, so it'll work.
It was good?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, I only had 5 seconds of it, but I know it works.
But it's like there's like a 15-minute counter in front
yeah, there's
of
like a 15-minute counter in front of it. That's why.
No, really?
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, so I can just play. I can play the two intros individually, and they're only like a minute each.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, we'll do that.
I don't want to sit here 15 minutes not talking to you while we watch a countdown.
Yeah. No, exactly. It's just, I guess that's a good tactic or whatever, live stream tactic, kind of build up the anticipation, the audience. You know what I mean?
Right.
Speaking of the audience, I've got, as I say, a members only stream going. Shout out to JMails24, smashing the super chat. It says 4 more hours. I may not interact with you in the chat. Don't take it personally. But once the conversation starts up, my primary focus is going to be disseminating the empirical method held within hypothesis construction when talking about science. So that will be my only focus. Other than reactively dealing with anything that Jaron throws at me, my only intention is to go through the empirical method and how it's empirical. And that is with hypothesis construction. So I've only got one aim, literally. That's it.
Sorry. My bad.
It's all right. Good timing. I just finished.
That was loud.
Is it loud? Loud volume?
Yeah, it was.
Cut the volume down a little bit.
Perhaps a little bit, yeah.
Stream, yeah. OBS is so much better with the volume levels and stuff. By the way, credit to Nathan Oakley for teaching me about volume levels. I have used the knowledge wisely.
Oh, jolly good.
You know what I mean? You just find that.
I just had to do mine. I forgot. So, is it all sounding good on in the chat on my live stream? Do we all sound roughly the same level? Please let me know. I've just adjusted it. That's all.
A little adjustment. I'm gonna bring one more in real quick.
Thanks,
so
man.
I apologize. This is the asylum intro.
Thanks for the coffee.
Remove, I say. Oh, moved the wrong guy. I removed Apocrypha.
Oh, nice. Hey, don't forget to live stream it into the Discord. There's people waiting. Discord.
Oh yeah, hold on, I gotta turn that on.
Yeah.
I will turn that on as well.
Yeah, we still have 15 minutes, so we're good. I know Nathan's audience is getting the behind the scenes look, so that's cool. Nathan, while we're waiting for Jaren, also keep an eye out for Jaren too, Hammer. Of course, you already know that. But Nathan, while we're waiting, how do you think this is gonna go?
I don't know. Everyone around me's got very low expectations. Let's put it that way.
I was talking to Hammer earlier.
Such positive thinkers, aren't they?
I was talking to Hammer earlier, and I'm the complete opposite of that. I think that you and Jaren are gonna have a conversation that's gonna blow away everybody, and I could totally be wrong, but I'm saying this is what I think. It's gonna be a very, very good, productive conversation, respectful. There's gonna be no, craziness, if you will. I think it's gonna be a good conversation. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm prepared to be disappointed. I mean, it tends to be the case that when I have these discussions with people, I try and have a backstage conversation with them to find out what the lay of the land will be. And I've done no different with Jaren. So there's been a back and forth, as I've been detailing on the live stream. So I already know what he's going to, or I have a general idea based on the back and forth so far, the way it'll go. Let's put it that way. So I think
Right.
I'm prepared for what he's going to present to me, and in as best as possible way, I've tried to disseminate what I want to present to him.
Right. I hear you. For the most part, I think it's as long as both of you guys are not over talking and making it a shit show, I think it could be a very good back and forth though, and I think that's what I mean more along the lines of it's going to shock people. I think they're gonna not. They're expecting the worst, but I don't think they're gonna get that. Hopefully.
We'll see.
All right. Right. No sign of Jaren yet. 10 minutes till. 14 minutes till.
Nope, not yet.
Okay. Oh, you know what? Let me
Just,
check my telegram.
Sorry, I'm just trying to pull up the Discord for the Discordians. For everybody in Discordian world.
If it all goes tits up and doesn't go well, it doesn't mean that my efforts in this regard will stop.
Right.
As far as the flat Earth, you mean?
No. In regards to Jaren, in regards to what I'm trying to disseminate, I've been trying to disseminate the same information to Bob, Jaren, Dave Weiss, Globebusters in general for 4 or 5 years. So
wow.
has the message ever changed? Go back and listen to me talking to it on Globebusters. Admittedly, a lot broader because I was trying to get a lot more in. But my message hasn't changed in that period of time.
Right. I hear you. Hammer, are you ready to do an intro for the show? That way it will be a few minutes before the top of the hour. That way we could say a few things. Ready? Hammer.
My bad. Maybe it would help if I actually unmuted my microphone. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, there we go. Yeah, I'm just pulling this up on Discord. Sorry.
No worries.
Turtle, bro. I identify as a turtle.
No worries. I see your.
As soon as I get that. What's that?
Jaren's gonna be here in 5. He just messaged me.
Sick.
Very good.
So we should be able.
We can start doing the show if you want to start streaming it in Discord, and then you can launch the intro, and we'll talk for just a few minutes. Once Jaren gets here, we'll let them have it. Okay.
Sounds good.
Perfect.
Now, Nathan, is it better for me to leave us in here for what you're doing right now, or is it okay if I take us all out and just let the intros play on their own?
I'd rather stay in just in case something goes wrong. Now we're here and it's working. I mean, it's up to you.
Okay.
Obviously, do what you like.
True.
Well, I try to be accommodating, you know what I mean? I think sometimes that gets me into trouble, though.
Thank you for the super chat, Godzilla. Says Nathan 1, go home.
Nice. Okay, that should be up in the Discord finally. Sorry about that, gentlemen. We are... I'm just going to leave myself out of there for now.
You're both pretty good with mic discipline, as in keeping yourselves on mute, right?
Yes, sir.
Fair enough.
All right. Let's see what we can do with this. Picture in picture. I'll just try and do it like this. All right. We're hitting it. Going live, boys.
Sounds good. All right. We are live. Welcome, everybody, to the Asylum. Whether you're in the Discord or you're on the YouTube watching it live stream, please like, comment, share, subscribe, hit those buttons. We are doing this live with Nathan Oakley and Jaren from Jeranism. We're just waiting for Jaren right now. And Hammer is going to be at the controls today. Everyone just say hi real quick.
Hello.
Hello.
Yep. To everybody that's listening live, if you want to join the conversation, like as far as in the texting, you could do so by clicking on the links, or one of the links in the video description. And also, if you want to support the show, there is a link there. But we are focused here on the conversation. It's going to go back and forth. And Nathan, Jaren's going to go first, and then he's going to have an opening, and then I already talked to him about it, as well as you too, but just for the audience's purpose, so they know how it's going to go down. Jaren's going to go first. There's going to be, let him go interrupted, and then when he's done, then you will have your uninterrupted beginning as well, and then you will start off the back and forth. Does that sound good?
That's great.
All right. With that, we're just kind of waiting for Jaren and Hammer. Anything to talk about while we wait?
I'm just really looking forward to this conversation. Once again, thank you, Nathan, for being here. Yeah, I'm looking forward to a good conversation.
yeah, this is definitely something that a lot of DMs, a lot of invites, and a lot of welcomings, if you will. A lot of people are energetic about this conversation, and I think that's right. I think it's rightfully so. This has been a conversation. Nathan, you said it's been in for a few years now, right? It's been going on.
Yeah, I mean, the last time I made attempts to explain how science proves things, it was on Globebusters. And I was too broad in terms of how I tried to disseminate the information. I tried to incorporate too much stuff. So in this instance with Jaren, I'm going to take a totally different approach, which is to say I'm going to keep it very, very, very narrow. So my intention is to just go through hypothesis construction and the empirical logic held within that hypothesis. That is to say, the logic offers only one outcome. I might as well just go through it vaguely now because you can see how concisely it can be summarized, which is to say that the logic of the hypothesis is as follows. If A, then B. Or if A, not B. So they are both predictive statements that both simultaneously cannot be held true. So a hypothesis predicts the cause of an effect. A causes B. But alongside that prediction, that A, when varied, will cause B, the phenomena you're studying, there's a null hypothesis, which is called a zero difference result. Now, the null hypothesis states the antithesis of your prediction in the positive statement called the alternative hypothesis. So if A, then B is the alternative hypothesis, and the antithesis is the null. If A, not B. So A causing B and A not causing B violates the law of non-contradiction. You can't both cause something and not cause it at the same time. And only one of those two outcomes is possible at the end of the process. So my primary focus today will be to explain how that logic works. If A, then B, or not and, or if A, not B, because both simultaneously cannot be true. Therefore, upon variation, only one will be proven to be true. A will either cause B or it will not cause B, and both can't simultaneously be true. That's it. How long that took?
Well, you're supposed to wait for it, but okay, no worries. As we wait, by the way, Hammer, is he backstage yet? It's been about 5 minutes. He said he's going to be here. Not yet.
Not quite yet. I don't see him.
Okay, that's all right.
But we have a comment here. Maybe you gentlemen would like to respond to. I don't know. From Gamer Guy in the chat. Star trails are enough to make sure no one with a brain ever becomes a flat earther. Any response to that?
No, not really. I mean, I don't care. The comments in regards to newbie flat earth questions about star trails, no, that's not what I'm here for. I've only got one objective, so if I'm trying not to be distracted by Jaren, the difference being that when Jaren brings something up, he will get it addressed. But this guy, from me, won't. You can. Feel free.
Right. You know, I think there's a lot of questions in regard. It seems like they tend to really focus on the Southern Cross and the Star Trails and opposite.
I try to keep it real simple when they talk about that stuff, right? I think you guys mentioned it. Why are they looking at the sky when talking about the ground? Right?
Yeah.
And they don't like that too much.
Yeah, they don't at all. Actually, they look at it as which is really weird. They look at it as like a cop out, or an easy way out. But I think it's a good point. Like it's not proving anything. Looking down is a better place to start than to look up. I don't know.
Because most of the arguments really, there are some. So you could break it down pretty simply. I feel like the helicopter thing. I love the helicopter thing and the Coriolis, and it shows how much they have to invent and believe in what the whole lockstep atmosphere, as you guys poignantly called it, and all the other stuff that goes along with it.
You're
That's
convoluting
fun.
two different things. So one is globiolus, where they claim that there is only one reference frame, and Earth and atmosphere all move as one, ergo no drift. There is also the actual positive claim from the globe, which is Coriolis effect, which is induced at a 15-degree-an-hour rate, and that would be what the observation of the stars is inferred to imply. Therefore, the assertion is that Earth is turning underneath the stars as a non-inertial turning reference frame. If the Earth is turning underneath the stars as a non-inertial turning reference frame, then flights would have their times reduced when travelling west, because Earth would be turning underneath them as a non-inertial turning reference frame, exactly as is claimed. When we point out that Earth does not turn underneath aeroplanes as a second non-inertial turning reference frame to induce a 15 degrees an hour drift deviation in the aeroplane, which does not happen, they then tell us there's only one reference frame, there is no drift, nothing to see here, Earth and atmosphere are velcroed together in violation of both first and second law of thermodynamics. But that's not the actual official globe claim. The official globe claim is Earth turns underneath footballs, like Neil deGrasse Tyson said at the football match. Yeah, the Earth turned underneath the ball. Well, then it would turn underneath an airplane or a helicopter or a drone or anything that jumped. You, if you jumped up and down, would have Earth turning underneath you at 1,000 miles an hour at the equator. It doesn't happen. It's claimed to. It's called Coriolis effect. There's claimed to be a 15 degrees an hour drift. It's claimed by this Muppet in the chat that that's what we're seeing in the stars. So Earth's turning underneath the stars, eh, Muppet? Well, then we'd see flight times reduced because Earth would be turning under the planes like Tyson says it's turning underneath the football at that football match. It isn't. We'd notice.
Right.
Thank you, Nathan. And we actually were talking to some people just the other day that were trying to claim again that airplanes account, they have instruments in their cockpit or whatever that account
Let's just
for
deal with that as well.
Coriolis. It's
Quickly,
just absolutely ridiculous. But
Well,
Jaren is here if you want me to throw him in here. Mr. Jaren has arrived.
Good. Bring him in. That's
All right.
good stuff. Hey,
Mr. Jaren, welcome to the show, buddy.
What's up, guys? How are you?
Welcome. Good. Without further ado, go ahead and you are going to start this off, and you already know the format, how it's going to break down. You start, and then he'll. What's that?
No, I was gonna say, what is the format?
You're do like 5 to 10 minute opening, however long you need to to state everything, and then he'll go and do that, and then you're going to have the back and forth as we had discussed.
Sounds good to me.
All right, with that, I will put myself on mute and enjoy the show, everybody.
All right, so I'll just do a little quick intro, and I guess you could ask why I'm here. I don't want to be here. I don't really want to talk to Nathan, mostly because, well, first of all, I give credit where credit's due. Something that Nathan doesn't do. That's to point out the good work that he has done for the community. And I think that the show used to be great. And I think that the people on the show used to be great. And then he got an ego. And what happens when you get an ego is that you start to chase the Globers away. And now the one-time great debate show consists of basically repeated dumbass arguments and a circle jerk of enormous proportions. So I've heard from people involved in that show that they'll even set up scenarios before the show. So basically, hey, Riley, you play this role and we'll argue back and forth. And so it's just all like a setup. It's like not even a real conversation. It's a circle jerk. And it's probably the worst thing that you can do for the community is have a bunch of people sit around and toot each other's horns and just have no opposition at all, which is what they don't have anymore. So they've taken it upon themselves to go after other flat earthers. And when you've got people saying things like Witsit is dumb, it is one of the most glaring inaccuracies ever said. There's nobody who would listen to Witsit and say, oh, that guy's dumb. He would destroy any member of flat earth debate, in any intellectual test, in any SAT, in any IQ test. He would absolutely destroy every one of them. Yet they're calling him stupid. Why? Because they need views. And when you need views, you put Witsit's name in your title or put my name or my photo on your thumbnail. You can go to my channel and check how many times I've got Nathan Oakley in a thumbnail of mine. The answer is 0. You can then find out how many times I've got Nathan Oakley in the title of one of my videos. The answer is 0. I don't need Nathan for content. Nathan needs me. So these guys did a 4-hour show once where they were arguing whether or not I was an agent. This was a debate that Riley was taking the opinion that, well, Jaren's really bad at debate, so he must be an agent. And these guys are going back like that's a rational conversation. Who knows? Anyway, Nathan may have been ace. I recommended the show in the past. I had Nathan on my show. I made clips of the show. I was a patron. So I actually donated to the show. And I always give credit to those who deserve it. So I will give credit there. But the last 2 years, or I guess since he started attacking people for having different beliefs, like if we have people debating the ether, great. Just because you don't believe in the ether, you should want other people looking into it. Then they might find something you would never find because you've already closed your mind to it, which is crazy to me. We're in this community, we're in the flat earth, we're in the truth because we have open minds. We want to kick some stuff around, and yet these guys want us to be dogmatic as dogmatic gets. It's insane to me. So Oakley has his tambourine troupe. They all, called Wits It Stupid. They call me names now. Now they're all going off about me being an agent, or I'm working for the government, or I work with McToon, or you name it. They say Bob was an agent, which is insane. They say I'm not a flat earther. They say I work for the government, like I said. And then they demand that I be like them and say the same things as them. So they want me to be rude. They want me to be gross. They want me to be wrong and pompous, and which is easy to do when there's no opposition. When you just sit there on your own show, you can act like an ass because the people that are there are going to show up the next day. But the show is now a joke to me. And since I think Nathan will never admit that he's wrong, which is the reason I've called him a scammer, because I think he cares deeply about money. I think he admits that often. So much to the fact that the reason he's here today is because he told his audience and his team that he feels it's better monetarily for him to make up with me or to at least have some common ground. That's the only reason he's here. So it's not about being a decent human. It's not about treating each other with respect. It's not about, call people names and go watch his show, watch anything with my face in it and listen to the things that are said. And then if you think I'm just going to come here and be like, oh yeah, everything's cool, you got nothing coming. But that's why I call him a scammer. So I mentioned the thumbnails. He's got me all over his thumbnails. You can check my channel. I don't do that. The man does seem incapable of like a normal human conversation that is the sharing of ideas. It's just not allowed, nor is having a different belief. Like I said, how dare you have an open mind? So he has claimed on his show that I push the ether to my audience and pretend I have science for it, which is a total lie. I've asked them to find one time that I've ever mentioned the ether, because I don't even remember mentioning it on my show. No one has ever found it. No one's ever returned it. This is part of the problem when Nathan is proven wrong. When you've got QE and Nathan saying water boils at 100 degrees, what did I do? I shoved it right back in their face and proved that it does not, that it can boil at different temperatures depending on the vessel, depending on the type of water. There's so many variables. And so I proved it wrong. So what did they do? Did they admit that they were wrong? No, they just changed it and pretended that the whole time they were saying heat causes water to boil. They completely changed their opinion. Didn't tell anybody. They just kept a new line of thinking. So again, the moral of the story is that I want flat earth debate to shut the fuck up about me. They need to talk about some other man or something, because it's really kind of strange. And just like I don't talk about them, they don't need to talk about me. But when I say science doesn't prove things, I am correct in every possible way possible. Let me explain why. If you are going to prove something, then it means that there is no other option. Okay, that's what proof means. It means that you have no other alternative, that you've checked all the variables, that you are a perfect human being. The only people that could ever claim such would be God and Jesus, not QE and Nathan Oakley. QE and Nathan Oakley are fallible human beings. They're biased, fallible human beings. Why would you ever accept science that comes from biased human beings? Unless, again, you can have multiple people do it. You can run it through tests over and over again, and we can get as close as possible to the truth. But there's nobody in their right mind that would ever say, oh no, we can do a test. We can get to a conclusion. If P then Q, we can get there. And then from that point on, we never have to look at that again. That's actually what Nathan believes. And he might try and bring up here, oh, well, why don't you go after Dave Weiss? He says science proves things. Why don't you go after Austin Whitsitt? He says science proves things. I guarantee you right now, if we call either one of them and say, does science prove things 100% unequivocally? They will all say, absolutely not. See, so that's the difference. We've got people that are honest. people that can admit when they're wrong. But yeah, well, yeah, when I say scientific proof, I don't mean it like that. I get it. Nathan can't do that. Nathan can't say, oh, you're right, Jaron. We wouldn't know that every bit of the variables have been covered. So just because we have, and he talks about it like it's logic, like it's math. Okay, computers use math. They use zeros and ones. Okay, humans do not. So it's much different. It's not just if P then Q, and we just throw in some numbers and everything works and it's perfect. No, every experiment that's ever been done in the history of man has got to go through the mind of a human being. There is no test that ever comes out with an answer that isn't run through the mind of a human being who could be very biased. And I'll just give 2 examples of that, and then I'll turn it over to Nathan, and he'll, what he's going to do. It's just going to be the same thing that we've heard for the last, who knows how long, 2 years. If P then Q, science does prove things. You prove you're null, all these things. So anyway, for instance, the thing that they said was heat does cause water to boil. So last night I went to my oven, and let's say I was doing a test, and you have to go back in the past because I'm just trying to say that this is before we realize certain things. But I put a pot of water in my oven and turned it to 400 degrees. Said, okay, well, that's definitely going to boil, right? 212 is the boiling point Fahrenheit of water. So I checked it at 212, and guess what? It wasn't boiling. Well, okay, well, it's got to boil by 300, right? 300 degrees, wasn't boiling. It's got to boil by 400 degrees, right? The oven got to 400 degrees, no boiling of water. So if I was doing some sort of a hypothesis test where I said, well, I think heat added to this water will cause it to boil. So I throw it in my oven and I turn it all the way up to 400 degrees and I sit there and watch it all night long and it never boils. So guess what? According to Nathan Oakley, I just proved the null, that heat does not cause water to boil. And that is horseshit. That is not proof of anything. I actually fucked up the experiment. I didn't even think about putting the fire underneath it or applying the fire. And now you have to think back, go back 100 years ago, 200 years ago. If people were doing the scientific method, would they have known all variables? Did they know about the different spectrums of light? Did they know about all the variables that we know about today? No. And to think that we know everything now would be retarded. We obviously don't. We're going to learn things as we go on. That's what's great about science. The scientific method is the best way to get closest to the truth that there has ever been invented. That's why it's great. That's why it's rigorous. And is that 10 minutes? Somebody talking?
No, you're good.
All right. So I'm just about another minute. So anyway, it's the best method that there is. And you will always get closer to the truth as long as you do good experiments and make good hypotheses. But sometimes you could make mistakes in your hypotheses, or you could make, some sort of let's say that we saw a natural phenomenon of a waterfall. And let's say that we're primitive men and we got the scientific method from God or something. And we're like, okay, now we know how to use it to determine what, the cause and effect relationships. So we see this waterfall and we're like, what is causing that waterfall? And so somebody surmises from the group, they say, well, I think that it could possibly be the rocks are pushing the water over the edge. So somebody says, well, let's run a hypothesis test. Let's make the independent variable the rocks, and let's see what happens when we remove the rocks from the river. And when they do that, guess what? It brings down the level of the water, and let's say it stops the waterfall. So guess what? They just proved that rocks pushing water causes waterfalls. And that's why it's a dumb test. And I'm not saying that that's a good hypothesis or a good test. What I'm showing you is that humans make mistakes. They can misapply things. They can not understand how things work. They can miss variables. And this is why science doesn't prove things. And I'm not appealing to populace. I'm appealing to rationality. That to think that humans could do anything perfectly is stupid. And to think that they can get proof of something is dumb. You can get as close as possible. And again, this is the differentiation I hope people realize. I say proof all the time. I say Canagoo proves a flat earth. In throwing words around, yeah, proof comes out sometimes. But if anybody ever stopped me and said, Jaron, are you saying that science can prove things 100%? I would say absolutely not. Who would say that? But guess what? There's a group of people, about 6 or 7 of them, that have been going on and on touting this forever. And the other thing is, when arguments like you're going to need a flat plane to do celestial navigation come up, it makes us look so dumb, because let's just pretend for a second, even though I can't imagine why anybody would ever believe this, but let's pretend for a second that we live on a sphere. Could we do celestial navigation? And the answer is yes, because you're just taking your angle to a star. Are you telling me there's no angle to a star because you're on a sphere? That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Now, granted, so is the globe, but We have a ton better arguments. Every one of your housekeeping questions is a better argument than, oh, you're going to take an angle? You need a flat plane for that. No, they don't. The earth, if it was round or flat, where you're standing right now, wouldn't make a difference, right? So can you take an angle to a star? The answer is yes. Simple. So now, again, I don't believe we live on a sphere, but I'm not dumb enough to say, oh, you're going to need a flat plane to do angle measurements. Well, they're not making triangles. They're just taking an angle to the star. So I don't get why. And again, this is why I call him a scammer. There's no way that he would ever show up here today and be like, oh, Jaron, you're right. Oh, Jaron, you're right. If you mean absolute proof, no, science can't bring us absolute proof. He's about to tell you that he can come up with absolute proof, as if we are perfect and as if we have no flaws, as if we know every variable. It's insane that we're even having this conversation because I can't imagine why anybody would ever take this position. It doesn't make any sense. It's not logical. And that's about it. So we'll see what Nathan's got to say. But we've all heard it before. This will be no different. I don't know why Nathan thinks that we don't hear his show. We obviously hear his show. I know what he's going to say. Nobody is missing the point here. It's just he's missing the facts. And he's got everybody on his team screaming the same thing. And it looks really bad. Just looks really bad. And if he wonders why his numbers are dwindling, it's obvious. And they will continue to go down. That's just the way it goes when you start to demonize other people in your own community, when you get abrasive and rude and condescending to people that have been here for a long time, start claiming that they're agents. People see that. You may get an influx of people. Remember Validation Boy, Nathan? You may get an influx of people. You may get a big crowd for a second, and then they'll go away. And each time you do that, your crowd will get smaller and smaller. So you could be great. You could be doing great. You could be back to where you were before, at the forefront of all this, but you've chosen instead to be an asshole. So congratulations. I hope that you enjoy what you're doing over there. Nobody watches, by the way. Anyway, you're up.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. So the scientific method has part of it that offers the empiricism, where you can say categorically at the end of the process, you will have provided proof. And that is contained within the hypothesis, which is a logical statement that would violate the law of non-contradiction if both statements in the hypothesis were held simultaneously true at the same time. Only one can be true, and only one can be proven. So the way that a hypothesis works is as follows. You have a suppositional statement, and we're going to call the suppositional statement A. And you have an occurrence. We're going to call the occurrence B. Now, your suppositional statement is that A will cause B. So your supposition is, I will vary A, and B will happen. Okay, so that's your first statement. It's called an alternative hypothesis. Alongside the alternative hypothesis is the antithesis of your predictive statement in the first instance, aka the alternative. So your predictive statement that A will cause B also has the contrapositive statement that A will not cause B. Excuse me 1 second. I've had a terrible frog in my throat all day. Okay. So once you've got both statements next to each other, A will cause B and A won't cause B. Both can't be true at the same time. Only one can be true. Because to have A both cause B and not cause B at the same time isn't possible. So, quick affirmation from Jaron. Do you understand that to have A cause B and A not cause B isn't possible? Do you understand?
Sure. You could just go back to what I just said about the waterfall and see that we were wrong about, we just did something that did affect it. Removing the rocks stopped the waterfall, but rocks do not cause waterfall. But our test proved that because
Okay,
we said,
thank you.
If I remove these rocks, then the water will stop flowing over the top.
So I'm clear. Your response is rocks don't cause waterfalls. Okay, I'll just try once more. Do you understand that A can't simultaneously cause B and not cause B at the same time, only one can be proven.
Correct.
So one can be proven then, Jaren.
One can certainly be shown to be more true than the other, but again, in this case, because we removed the rocks and the water stopped flowing,
not rocks. Not rocks. My example, just A and B, nice and simple. We're not on to experiment stage yet. You're not quite there yet, Jaren. I need you to understand hypothesis construction first, which is to say that
part of it is fine. Yeah. If life worked that way, then
my
you'd
bad.
be
I'm
correct.
still in the middle of my 2 minutes of presentation so far. I listened to your moans. I heard you call me a scammer because of, according to you, I say science proves, therefore I'm a scammer.
That's not true.
You understand that only one can be proven, and it would violate the law of non-contradiction. If one was true, but the other was a little bit true, then A would be both causing B and not causing B at the same time, which isn't possible.
Correct.
Third attempt. Do you understand that only one can be proven?
Correct. Again, what do you mean by proven?
That one will be true and the other will be ruled out as false because the other is true. So A causing B can't simultaneously exist along A not causing B. Only one statement can be proven. You can't both cause something and not cause something. Only one can be proven. Do you understand? Fourth attempt.
And we're not allowed to talk about my experiment?
We're not at that stage. We're at hypothesis.
Then I understand.
An experiment is a test of a hypothesis. So first, we need to understand that in a hypothesis, one statement will be proven.
If the experiment's done correctly, yes.
So we can definitely prove things with an experiment then, Jaren.
Again, you want to get into semantics.
Not semantics, it's logic.
Right, and logic doesn't go along with human testing of variables and knowledge.
We're not at that stage. You keep doing this. We're not at the experiment stage. We're at hypothesis construction stage.
So the things that I'm saying refute this whole statement, but you want to just prove the statement first before we get to the refuting of it? It makes a lot of sense.
So I've had an affirmation from you already.
Great.
You understand that only one can be proven. You affirmed yes.
No, I say only one can be true.
Yeah, proven.
Only one can be true.
Yeah, that would be proof. True. Not to change tomorrow, not also not going to cause B, but only one can be proven.
It couldn't change?
No, you won't find that if you vary A today and it does cause B, that tomorrow when you vary A, it won't cause B. That would violate third time, fourth time, fifth time, the law of non-contradiction, Jaren. So therefore, I'd like to conclude my point. You seem to have got plenty of time now. I seem to be getting interrupted quite a lot. I just need you to affirm you understand that proves something. You said yes. Now I'll move on. Thank you, Jaren. So do you want to look down the camera and just say once more that you understand that only one can be proven?
Yep.
So when you called me a scammer because I say science proves things, the hypothesis would only allow you to prove one or other of those statements true.
If you knew all the variables and you knew everything.
No, Jaren. No, that's incorrect also. The variables we're talking about in this instance are called independent. That means not other variables, but this one on its own that we will be varying A.
But what if there's things that we don't see that are happening?
Then Jaren, then that wouldn't be your independent variable because it's independent.
But we would still take a test and think that we proved something, but we didn't because we didn't know about the other variable.
We did. You affirmed only one can be true. You can't have A cause B and not cause B at the same time. When you vary A, my bad, I was in the middle of saying the same thing for the sixth time. I mean, it's only been 2 years of me saying the same thing and you calling me a scammer for saying science proves, but now it seems to be constantly being chanted through by Jaren. You got 10 straight minutes to moan about me in an uninterrupted 10 straight minutes.
Hey, Jaren, hold on. Let him finish his.
Yes, Jaren. You let me talk, sunshine. You shut your mouth,
right,
Jaren, and listen while I reaffirm that we can prove something at the end of this process. And you affirmed yes, we can prove it.
That's what you need to get your point across.
Stuttering much? Yes, Jaren. You called me a scammer for this.
Yeah.
You're wrong.
For not No, not ever admitting that you're wrong about anything.
Sorry, I am right. You can prove something. Hypothesis ensures that only one will be proven.
No.
So you say that A can both simultaneously cause B and not cause B at the same time, Jaren?
We could have scurvy. And so we think maybe we need to give these people vitamin C. So we give them a little bit of vitamin C and it doesn't do anything. And we give them a little bit more and it doesn't do anything. And we then from that say, oh, you know what? It's not the lack of vitamin C causing scurvy, but we didn't know we had to give them a certain amount. And that's the problem. And you can't see that and you can't admit that. And it really makes me think that you're either retarded or a scammer. So you can choose which one.
You done?
Yep.
I didn't mention scurvy. I kept it on logic. I asked you in our chat before if you'd studied the trivium at school. I understand now from your dissemination of your rebuttal that you don't understand the difference between quantitative and qualitative measures in logic, because you've just told me about how much of something. That's not what I detailed in the logic of if A, then B. That's not scurvy. That's a hypothesis.
Okay, so when we're using letters, if A, then B, then you're right. Then yes, those things can be proven. We can, those letters can be proven. If A, then B, all that is correct. That's not real world, but you can go ahead and pretend it is.
I see. So you believe that tomorrow, if I vary the vitamin C content, as you brought it up, of a gentleman, he won't die of scurvy?
If what?
If I remove vitamin C from a person tomorrow indefinitely, you think that tomorrow A will not cause B and he will not die of scurvy, according to you?
I never said that. No, never said that at all. I don't know where
So
you're getting that
we
from.
can understand then that A causing B will still be the same tomorrow then, and in that specific example of a scientific evidence, before you start interrupting me, you understand that in that example tomorrow a lack of vitamin C won't stop causing scurvy and that A will still cause B. That's A lack of vitamin C causing B scurvy, and tomorrow a lack of vitamin C, the null hypothesis, has been ruled out and will not change. It's been empirically, pick your ears up, Jaren, proven.
So do you think that it's possible that there's a certain amount of vitamin C that we have to give somebody? And so when we were doing our rigorous testing, we didn't know to give that amount?
You tell me. You brought it up.
I'm asking you.
I already answered your question. I told you you don't know the difference between qualitative and quantitative. I've already... Shut up. Shut up. I'm answering you.
That doesn't make a difference.
Shut up. You don't know the difference between quantitative... I've already said this third time. You seem slow.
Are
and
you
qualitative.
okay with accounting? Why do you have to count everything?
And qualitative. Yeah, there's a qualitative difference between A causing B and A not causing B versus how much of A, but you don't understand logic,
But does that
Jaren.
make a difference?
As a result of your constant interruptions and inability to understand logic because you clearly weren't educated in it, you have chosen to call me a scammer based on your statement that science doesn't prove, in spite of you affirming here today that you understand the logic
You
now.
keep saying that.
Can you stop interrupting me, please,
logically is
Jaren?
correct.
Please, can you stop interrupting me? You seem very triggered about this.
Oh, you were asking a question.
No, I'm making a statement, a fact. A causes B. In the case of your example, with A being the lack of vitamin C and B being scurvy, the null hypothesis that the lack of vitamin C won't cause scurvy has been ruled out forevermore because it is proven. Now, that was because it went through something called a hypothesis, where only one outcome when varying vitamin C could be proven. Either it will or it won't.
Right,
Not both.
Oh, sorry.
You seem to be constantly interrupting me, Jared. I listen to your bullshit nonsense justifying why you say I'm a scammer because science doesn't prove. Now I've taken you through the empirical logic of the hypothesis and you've affirmed that it can and does prove. Now you've given me an example of scurvy and I've explained it with a hypothesis. And it is proven, Jaren. I would like a retraction for the damage you've caused to me by calling me a scammer for saying science doesn't prove.
No, because again, I can disprove everything you're saying. And therefore, when you don't take that in, when you just keep saying the same bullshit, then you're a scammer.
Okay. So you can disprove that a lack of vitamin C will not cause scurvy.
No, I can take us back to when we were... What? I'm taking
You just said you could prove it.
Doing the original
so you're a
test.
liar. You just said you could prove what I've said. You brought up vitamin C and scurvy. I said that the null has been ruled out.
You made the hypothesis. What's the hypothesis?
No,
then?
I am not the person who came up with vitamin C and the lack thereof causing scurvy, Jaren. That is not a claim that I made. It was something that went through the scientific method.
Okay, so then if we go back in time and you and I see a boat full of people with scurvy and we're like, what are we going to do? let's do some testing so we can figure out what's going on here. Let's say we did give them vitamin C and it did not make them healthy. We would then have proven the null, meaning that the lack of vitamin C does not cause scurvy. But
Yes,
we were
that's right,
wrong
Jaron. That's what you would need to prove to make you correct when you say science doesn't prove things and it's only a little bit correct and might be wrong tomorrow. Well, then you need to show that tomorrow we might find that the lack of vitamin C won't cause scurvy to make you right and me wrong.
Wrong again. We need to find tomorrow that it's actually just a little bit more vitamin C that's needed.
Again, so we're back to you not understanding the difference between qualitative and quantitative.
But if we're doing a test, Nathan, if we're going to do a test, then we don't know what the amount of something is. When you say heat causes water to boil, what if you just put a candle underneath a glass of water? What happens?
Yeah, I went through that in my messages. Did you read my reply?
I don't know. You're just like copy pasting stuff. I can't read that.
No, I was typing it absolutely original, every single word. So you didn't read what I typed to you then?
Wow. You typed every word, the definitions out of Webster Dictionary. You typed that? Fucking
that was
liar.
one of about 25 paragraphs. No, that was actually copy pasted. Shocking.
Imagine that.
So hypothesis construction, Jaron. Do you understand what that is?
Okay. Sure.
If we're going to do an experiment, it'll be a hypothesis test. So maybe you could tell us what a hypothesis is, now that I've told you and explained it to you.
It's a educated guess. You're gonna try and figure out the cause and effect relationship.
What does it consist of?
An independent variable and a dependent variable. So if we're talking about seeing a hot springs, even though this is ridiculous because of course anybody would realize where it's coming from, like, obviously go touch the water, it's hot. So you kind of, this is not needed.
Science is not needed. Okay, Jaron, thank you. We got what I needed.
We see that, we say if heat, then boil. But let's say that back in the day, we didn't have a way to get the water hot enough. So then what would happen to our hypothesis?
Right, so what you're suggesting, Jaron, is that as your understanding goes, we have an independent variable that we will vary. And you're saying if there's not enough of it, when we vary the amount of it, Jaron.
Right.
But you're suggesting that because you don't understand the difference between qualitative and quantitative, that if we put a candle on it, do you mind, Jaron? I'm trying to address your stupid idiot claim that if we put a candle under water and don't show that it boils, that validates the null. No, you see, when you I'll try again, Jaron, without your interruption. Do you want to go on mute while I berate your stupidity, please?
No.
No, you want to interrupt me like the ballers when I'm humiliating them.
It's hard when you don't have the mute button, isn't it?
No, Jaron, I'll just attempt again to say that when we are varying heat, that would mean that we vary the amount of heat. Do you think that varying heat would be qualified when you put a candle under a bottle of water? Or do you think you might need to... I haven't quite finished, Jaron. I see you're very keen to interrupt to sort of cover up your own stupidity here, but I will get to the end of the statement, hopefully without interruption, from a triggered person that doesn't understand hypothesis construction and scientific proof. I'll try again.
I don't understand it.
I'll try again. Would you say that putting a candle under water, Jaron, qualifies as a variation of the heat?
Nope.
So you would make that a stupid question that you asked me about putting a candle in. It's just a stupid question you asked as an incompetent scientist.
No, it's actually to point out to you, if you were smart enough to, from that, grasp the idea behind it, which is, what if water took 800 degrees to boil? Let's just say. It's not saying that's true. It takes 800 degrees. But back when we do our tests, we don't have a way of getting the fire that hot. Then what would happen to our little hypothesis about proving things? We would prove
I told you this in my message. So I explained in the message that I didn't want to get ahead of ourselves by talking about the experiment stage and only focus on the fact.
That's the whole problem with it.
About 5 sentences.
Logically,
about 3 sentences.
You're correct.
About 2 sentences that I got out there.
Logically, you're correct.
I am correct that science proves things, Jaron. I know I've been trying to disseminate this to you for about 2.5 straight years to Bob for 4. But you braced to get, I guess, about 3 sentences before Jaron interrupts me. Do you need to be like the ballers, Jaron? Maybe it's because I haven't got a mute button. Is this your mute button while you mute what I'm saying here? Question wasn't rhetorical. Is this your mute button that you're using while you talk through me?
Heard it all before.
I'll try again. I explained in the message. To answer your question, I've already answered in my messages that you didn't read, that I typed out by hand, where I explained that the systematic experimentation stage that I was hoping not to get onto because I just wanted you to affirm, as you have, that we will prove something based on the hypothesis construction being correct. But in the experimental stage, 5th interruption, in the experimental stage, 6th interruption from Jaron, triggered for Fundy using his mute button.
7.
In the experimental stage, Jaron, you pass it on to multiple people. So that if someone's so incompetent that they only put 1 candle under water, rather than varying the heat as your independent variable. Some other person who is less stupid would do it on their behalf, so it rules out the incompetence on the part of the experimenter. Also, the systematic experimentation stage rules out inadequacies in the experimental setup also. But the experimental setup is just to test the hypothesis. That's what an experiment is. It's a hypothesis test. Seventh interruption. It's a hypothesis test to establish if A does cause B or if A does not cause B, because only one can be proven when you do an experiment. As I say, I did explain all of this in your message, but you just hand-waved it as being copy-paste in your arrogance with your ego that you already knew this. You didn't.
Yes.
You didn't think science proves things. What you did do was call me a scammer and then constantly interrupt when I get my 2 cents about what an absolute arsehole you are, for declaring quite boldly that by saying that science proves when that's all it can do, I'm a scammer. Later to go on and say it's because I run a shit show, which is what you've now changed it to. No, Jaren, you said it was because that's the 8th interruption. I listened to your boring shite about how crap my show is, Jaren. Now you've got to listen to me.
I didn't ask you any questions, did I?
No, you just need to shut up while I berate you for being stupid and not understanding science.
Yeah, this is going to go well.
You could go away if you want, and I can just talk to the audience about science. Do you want to run away?
Probably. It sounds fun.
Go on then, run away.
I mean, who in their right mind?
No, shut up. I'm talking, you daft twat. Shut up and listen to me or run away. Those are your choices. Bugger off or listen.
No, well, I'll keep talking then.
So you will only do the fun demuting trick that Globers use. How
you
telling.
Just told me I had 2 options, though, and I didn't choose one of those. So what do you think?
I think you're a coward and you don't want to listen to how you're wrong, like you said I was doing.
Yeah, I don't want to listen to him wrong.
Yeah, you are wrong. Science proves it's all it can do at the end of a hypothesis test. I explained that to you and you affirmed. Yes,
and
it will prove.
Come up with many ways that it doesn't happen. So, and you just.
So you're going to keep debating while I make my conclusion. I listened to your conclusions at the start of the show. You weren't interrupted. Now I'm making mine. You're going to interrupt continuously, you coward?
Yeah, let me ask the moderators if they will. Can you put a time on it so that I know when I
don't need a timer. I need you to listen.
Well, I need a timer so I know when to talk.
All right, well, let's go ahead and we'll let Nathan finish. Go ahead and just.
You're damn right you will.
Yeah.
You'll let Nathan finish. Now, Jaren hasn't got the slightest idea what science is. He's an idiot.
He doesn't. The slightest idea.
I got about 1 sentence. Jaren, did you really like your uninterrupted ramble about how bad I am? Was that fun?
I can't wait for my next one.
Yeah, well, your uninterrupted ramble, I didn't say a damn word. I got straight onto hypothesis construction and got my opponent who says I'm a scammer for saying science proves to affirm that it proves. That's what I did, Jaren, here today. And every single person watching it knows how scummy you are now. If you don't,
that would be hilarious.
If you don't retract your claim that by saying science proves, as you have affirmed here today, that makes me a scammer. I want a retraction, lest you be a total scumbag.
Never said that.
I've got a recording of it. Do you want me to dig out you saying it?
Sure.
Okay, give me 2 minutes.
Okay. So Nathan's going to pull out me saying that he's a scammer for saying science doesn't prove things.
Well, while we wait for that, big shout out to everybody in the chat. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're enjoying the conversation thus far.
How could anybody enjoy this? It's just like I'd rather be doing anything else. Anything.
Well, we got 135 people watching live.
Nice.
They're enjoying it. It's not, I don't know. It's different. It's I don't know. These are probably how I feel necessary chats that need to happen in order to move forward. You know what I mean? Quite often you hear Globers talking about how, you know, obviously anything they say is untrue. So why would I even give credit and say what they repeat what they say anyway?
Right.
But I guess for the public, you know, for the audience, it gives them, you know, we are out here testing our own claims, talking to, you know, people that we disagree with within our own community.
Who's
oh, go ahead.
Who'd you say is doing that?
I mean, I'd like to. I mean, that's kind of. I guess that's kind of just a naive hope that I have. Maybe. I I feel like that's the kind of the the initial or original intentions of this scientific endeavor that human beings went on, right? In a way, is like let's go test our hypotheses and theories, however they label it,
Right.
about reality,
and get as close to the possible truth as you can.
Sure.
And it's a never-ending process.
To be honest, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, that's it.
It is a never-ending process. I completely agree with you. And to be honest, man, I remember in the beginning of this, when I started this, I've said it many times, I was telling Globers that science doesn't prove anything. And I really do feel like it's just in my personal opinion of it, it comes down to a semantics game on how whoever's talking about it is talking about proof, right? Because the way that they describe
Maybe we could start there, because if Oakley can understand what I mean by proof, because like I said, I say science prove things just in general conversation. And then what I said on my show that they got so upset about is I said, science can never prove anything conclusively, that you never know if you have all the elements correct, if you have all the variables correct. And I cannot believe that anybody would argue with that. The fact that somebody would say, no, we always know all the variables. We would never get that wrong. We would never get an experiment wrong. We would never not be able to achieve a certain level needed for that experiment to be proven right or wrong, is crazy to me. Of course that would happen. And of course you never close the book on science. Nathan Oakley will tell you you do. As soon as you've proven something, you close the book, it'll never change. That's insane. And then he goes and says to people, oh, you'll all see that Jaron's wrong here. If anybody thinks I'm wrong, please unsubscribe, because it means that you are a follower. It means that you worship men, that you just listen to what somebody says, that you don't even have the ability to think for yourself. If you can think for yourself, you'd be like, oh yeah, humans get things wrong all the time. So to think that there's just some magic test that man made up that's like, oh, but when we do it this way, we can never be wrong, only right. We can never be insufficient. We can never be short. We can never come up short of something. Like, what if water was 800 degrees temperature to boil? So back in the day, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, we could have put a lot of fire under it. We could have tried a lot of things, and we would have reached the conclusion that heat does not cause water to boil. And we would have been wrong, but we would have proven it according to Oakley. So it's as simple as that. It's really as simple as that. Or my waterfall example, that you can make that hypothesis. Well, I think it's the rocks pushing the water over the edge. So in order to vary that variable or manipulate that variable, I'm going to remove all the rocks from said river. So a bunch of people get there. We all remove the rocks out of the river. And guess what? The level of the water comes down and it no longer spills over the edge. The waterfall disappears. Therefore, we just, according to Nathan Oakley, through this rigorous method, proved that it's rocks pushing water over the edge of causing the waterfall, when it's not. That's not what causes waterfall. So this is the problem with mankind. This is the problem with men. This is the problem with human minds. We're always going to be biased. We will always possibly create the wrong hypothesis. Who's in charge of that? Who's going to verify that the hypothesis is correctly stated? Who's going to verify that all the variables were taken into account? Think about 200 years ago, we didn't know about the entire light spectrum outside of what we could see. So imagine they were back doing experiments and cause and effect relationship experiments and proving things. And then, somebody discovered that there's like 95% of more light that is not observed. And then all of our tests were wrong and everything we proved is unproven. And it just becomes a whole mess. That's why science would never say they prove anything, or else you close the book. You don't get to do it again. To me, you want to always be refining. Even if right now we believe that heat causes water to boil, which actually it's not even heat, really, it's pressure, but it's another story altogether, that you can make wrong determinations. For instance, if the hypothesis might need to be reworded, like Riley's egg experiment, right? When Riley did that egg experiment, I wonder why the hypothesis wasn't just, if I add, back when Nathan Oakley kept saying things like science proves this, science proves, I took him and said, Nathan, science doesn't prove anything, right?
And we could do actual science to prove that we're not on a spinning globe.
I took him and said, Nathan, science doesn't prove anything, right?
24 times farther. Scientifically, we can prove that its angular size is too small. Scientifically, we can prove.
Kept saying things like science proves this, science proves.
Scientifically, we can prove.
I took him and said, Nathan, science doesn't prove anything, right?
Right.
And that could be proven scientifically.
Science proves this, science proves, right? That's how you know you're being scammed. So back when David you kept saying things like science.
That's how you know you're being scammed. Back when Nathan used to say science proves this, science proves that. That's what you said.
Okay.
Okay, so you're a liar.
No. How do you know when you're being scammed? When somebody says that you said something, then they go get a piece of content that doesn't contain what they said you would say.
That's what you
That's
just
how you know.
said.
What did I say? Play it again.
That's how you know you're being scammed. When science says this, when I spoke to Nathan and he said science proves this and science proves that.
Right. I mean, there's a million things
Right.
that I've said you're a scam for.
Yeah, right. So you said I was a scammer for saying science proves this and science proves that.
No, I said you're a scammer for not admitting when you're wrong.
No, that's what you said today.
No, that's what I've said weeks for months. So a year. Go back and watch my show. I know you don't watch my show, so you wouldn't know.
Meanwhile, when you have a predictive statement that A will cause B, it can't simultaneously not cause B at the same time. Now, you've just, while I was looking for that video, doubled down and said that tomorrow it might change. So in order for you to prove your stupid shit, you've got to show tomorrow scurvy not being induced by the lack of vitamin C if science can change tomorrow, because that would violate the law of non-contradiction as you affirmed earlier. If A causes B, then it can't simultaneously not cause B.
Okay, so if I go and remove all the rocks from a waterfall and it causes the water level to drop and then the waterfall no longer goes over the edge, did I just prove that rocks cause the waterfall to happen?
You don't test the null hypothesis when you do an experiment. So in an experiment,
let's form it
my
correctly.
bad, half a sentence out, trying to address the ignorant person who doesn't understand how to formulate a hypothesis.
Oh, here we go. Jesus.
Do I get to answer you, or do you just get to put your question and then talk straight through me?
Go ahead. You answer your own
I don't need your permission. I need you to shut up.
You don't even listen.
I don't need your permission. I need you to shut up.
Why'd you ask my permission? Fucking weirdo.
I didn't. I said, can you shut up?
Oh, boy.
So when you test a hypothesis, you test for the alternative after observing a natural phenomena. So, Jaron, are you suggesting that the natural phenomena is waterfall and your supposed cause of waterfall is rocks? So let me get it straight. Independent variable, rocks, causes waterfall, and null hypothesis, rocks don't cause waterfall. Okay. So I've got some rocks, Jaron. They're in front of me right now. I am going to vary the rocks. I varied them, Jaron. No waterfall happened. I'm just going to ask, did I confirm my null? I varied the rocks, the waterfall didn't happen. So rocks don't cause waterfalls, Jaron.
Sorry, what?
We put your supposition through the construction of a hypothesis with if rocks. So you're going to vary rocks in your affirmative statement that rocks cause waterfalls. There's only going to be
the rocks. And by varying the rocks, we stopped the waterfall.
Sorry, stopped the waterfall? Are there other variables involved? What are you talking about?
Well, then we put the rocks back in and it caused the waterfall.
Put back in what? Sorry, is there something else being varied here that's not independent?
Sure, it's the river that...
Sorry, sure? Do you not understand what independent variable means, Jaron?
Yeah, we didn't touch the river.
What river? We're varying rocks.
No. There's a river that leads to the waterfall.
Okay, you give me the hypothesis with the independent variable of what you say? Rocks.
Okay.
So cause rocks. Effect waterfall. So your suppositional statement is that you vary rocks and cause a waterfall.
Yes, and we did that.
That's nonsense, Jaron. It's stupid.
But our test proved it. So how about that?
So you varied rocks? No, I'll go and get some rocks right now and vary them if you like, and I guarantee it will affirm the null we won't cause a waterfall.
In the particular test that we did, it did.
What particular test? Were there other variables that aren't the independent variable of rocks that we're going to be varying? Are we adding multiple different variables that aren't independent in your test, Jaron? Because if so, my bad, it seems like every time I address Jaron's stupid nonsense that if rocks, then waterfalls, or if rocks, not waterfalls, that somehow I need interruption about the multiple variables, the other things that we're going to be varying.
How does anybody listen to this? It's just such garbage.
You don't, Jaron. It's been 4 years and you haven't listened to a word of it.
Good. You at least know.
It just makes you ignorant. When listening
Oh, yeah.
as an audience
Not
member,
listening
they
to your
hear
show
me
makes me
taking
ignorant,
you
yeah.
through the steps of empiricism in the logical consistency, and you tell me you don't know how much. The audience can only infer that you're stupid and don't understand the difference between qualitative and quantitative variation. Like
Watch
with the
your
trivium
numbers
that I asked
drop
you about. I asked
again.
you about this. I wanted to not humiliate you over this. If you'd have just told me I don't
don't care
understand
what you think
logic
you're
when I
doing.
asked.
There's no humiliation other than your inability to recognize that humans aren't perfect. Period.
So
You
in
can't even
theory
get
then,
that
Jaron,
much.
because we're not perfect, tomorrow the lack of vitamin C might not cause scurvy then.
If we did the original test and we thought giving scurvy was going to giving them vitamin C was going to fix the scurvy, and we didn't give them enough. So you're saying that you said that varying and manipulating it means that we have to go. So when do we stop giving them vitamin C? What if after?
Well, we test by varying it, Jaron. The amount of varying it. Yeah, shockingly.
So say that
Shockingly,
vitamin C
Jaron,
comes in
shockingly. The clue is in the title. It's a variable, Jaron. You're going to vary it. So Jaron, I'm trying to address you, and you seem to be constantly rumpusing me. I'm trying to address your stupid nonsense. You just don't seem to want to let me. So yes, Jaron, it's shocking. I know in your mind you think that putting one candle.
Stupid. You can't even listen to me. Listen for a second.
I heard what you said.
Now.
I heard.
Listen now. If when we were doing the original test, let's say vitamin C comes in tablets, so we gave everybody 1 tablet and they didn't get better, and we gave everybody 2 tablets and they didn't get better, and we gave everybody 3 tablets and they didn't get better. At what point do we say that we proved the null? Because you're saying I have to keep varying it and manipulating it until something happens. So what do I give them, 100 pills each? But what if it takes 50 pills until that they get healed? How is our stupid scientific proving test going to do anything in that case?
Yeah, that's right, Jaron. That's correct. As you've just correctly identified with your own example. That's right. You vary the amount of vitamin C like you'd vary the amount of heat. That's about 2 sentences before constant interruption from Jaron.
Well, because you're not answering the question. I said, to what point? Answer the fucking question I asked, not your own.
Darren. You don't need to get angry. Being wrong about the empirical method of science doesn't need you to get angry with me. Sorry, what were you calling me an arsehole? Something about me shouting at people on my show.
Yes, you do.
Like you're doing to me now. Why would you be like this, Jaron?
Well, because it looks like you only respond to that. That's how you.
Could I perhaps suggest that what you're suggesting I am like is actually just a projection of your own ineptitude and horrible nature?
No, I don't use the mute button at all.
But when you're talking through me now, you don't think that's muting me?
No.
It is, Jaron. It's called the fundamentalist religious zealot mute button. When someone's proven wrong, they have to talk through me.
Right, so you just mute them.
Yeah, right. It's your mute button. That's right. You're muting me rather than listening to the devastating facts of the empirical method. Like now, you're muting me. This is you muting me, Jaron. You do have a mute button. You're using it right now. This is Jaron muting me. That's correct.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does. You're muting me because you don't want to hear how stupid you are.
Wow. You're so dumb. It's painful. And you're leading so many people down the wrong path. And it's sad. You watch your numbers are going to dwindle. I mean, what do you think your numbers are down so much for?
I also addressed that argument in our discussion back and forth, argument ad populum.
No, I'm asking you why don't you? You're not concerned with that. You're not concerned with the fact.
What, with your fallacy of argument ad populum? No, I'm more concerned that you understand the empirical nature. You've already affirmed that you understand that A can't cause B.
Ronnie and Jason.
And there's his mute button again. What you say? You never mute button. You're a liar. You're muting me now.
No, that's not the same. You don't know the difference.
So when I can't be heard because you talk straight through the top of me, it's not the same as you not letting me be heard. It's muting me, Jaron. That's what you're doing. You're a scumbag.
Oh yeah. Okay. So if you think that I want to talk to you, you've got another thing coming. I'll tell you that much.
You are talking to me, Jaron. You're just being humiliated for your lack of scientific acumen.
Did you miss what I said? If you think I want to be talking to you, then you got another thing coming.
You are talking to me.
You clearly aren't smart enough to even recognize that what I'm saying is a viable option. That if we were doing a scientific test to figure out what is causing these people to be sick, and somebody says, what if it could be a lack of vitamin C? And I say, go get me some vitamin C then. And we give them all a pill and nothing happens. And we vary and manipulate it. So we give them 2 pills and 3 and 4 and 5. And eventually somebody says, aren't you afraid you're going to get them sicker or you're going to cause some? You're right. I have to stop at 5. So then at that point, we would say our null is proven. Okay, it is not the lack of vitamin C that causes scurvy. But we were wrong because we didn't know we had to give them 10 pills.
But let me get it straight. So left in your responsibility, the variation of the independent variable was left up to Jaron. You would have said, no, we better not vary the vitamin C because the vitamin C might also cause them to be sick. We have now validated the null. therefore tens of millions would have died of scurvy because the science was left
Hold on,
up to
maybe we're
Jaron.
getting somewhere.
Just
Maybe we're getting
summarizing the conclusion of what you just stated.
Great.
Were
so
it
then
left up to you, while you fundamentalist religious zealot mute me, you wouldn't have varied the quantity, because for the 6th time you don't understand the difference between quantitative and qualitative.
If you cannot
differences.
understand this, if you can't get this point,
I do
that I'm saying
understand
right
this.
now,
I
wait
understand
one
this.
second. Okay, then prove it to me. You want me to vary the manipulate the variable? At what point do I stop?
No, Jaron, that's already been done by way of
the
putting.
question. Answer it.
No,
You can't
you
even
don't
this
need
is
to,
why you
Jaron.
mute
You would
people.
be an incompetent scientist because it's already been done. They've already varied and manipulated the independent
Stupid ass. I'm
variable of
talking
vitamin
about
C
before they did that.
and
We're
proved
going
that the
back in
lack
time.
thereof
That's why I
causes
said that at the
scurvy.
beginning of it.
And it seems that me disseminating the facts of scientific proof in the case of vitamin C and scurvy is going to get fundamentalist religious zealot muted by Jaron because he doesn't mute people.
Wow. you
Meanwhile,
are
I'll try and repeat
clown.
it again without any interruption.
Yeah, I'm
It's
done.
already
I
been
don't-
done.
there's
There is
the
no
last
need
place
for
I wanna be.
you to
Yeah, I don't wanna
vary
be here.
something because it's
If
already been done.
anybody thinks this
Why are you
more than a
constantly interrupting me?
scamming
I don't
piece of
understand
shit,
what's happening.
there's
Why
no
would this
way-
be the
you-
case? You've just claimed that this is what I do on my show, shout people down. Now you're doing it to me. You're projecting onto me, Jaron.
I'm gonna try and
Yeah, I
I'll
was
try
gonna
and do
say.
something here.
No, I'm gonna go. I don't want to be here. There's anybody who can't see that this guy is a human piece of shit. Then I mean, it's just insane to me that he can't even understand what I'm saying. He's now saying I need to vary and manipulate that variable until it cures vitamin C.
Okay.
I mean, until it cures scurvy.
You're getting
So
quite
what if
angry.
I
Can we-
give
can
them
we change-
1,000
Can we have a
pills?
subtle subject change just to get your anger level down a bit?
No, I don't want a subject change because this disproves your entire point and you can't face it.
Okay,
This
well, I'll
is why
try
you're
one
a scammer.
anyway. I'll try just to see if I'm successful. Okay.
Scammer.
So, your criticism of my show was that I'll get really abrasive and angry with people and that alienates them. Maybe you could go over that now with me. Do you want to just reiterate your point that you made at the beginning of the show after calling
Sure.
me a
It's
scammer,
that
saying
I
I'm a
would
shit?
respect- I
Just go ahead
respect
and reiterate
everybody.
that point for me, Jaron. You go ahead.
Yeah. So I respect everybody until they do not deserve respect anymore. You, sir, don't deserve an ounce of respect. An ounce. You're an asshole. You're a piece of shit. You're a liar. You change your opinions. You don't listen to people on purpose. You're not this dumb, Nathan. I don't think you're this dumb. You understand completely what I'm saying, but it causes you to have to say, fuck, I've got to say, oops, I made a mistake. Jaron's right, which you could never do because of your ego. So you're scamming by just whatever you need to say to get through to the next day, whatever you need to say. So
Okay.
you can't even understand that if we were doing that test before they figured out that vitamin C, the lack of vitamin C caused scurvy, that if we started giving them vitamin C and it wasn't helping, then at what point do we say we prove the null? You're saying, oh, you didn't vary and manipulate. Okay, we keep varying it. Now we give them 10 pills, 15 pills, 20 pills, 30 pills. At what point did we prove, according to you, the null? Because as soon as I say we proved it, you think I didn't vary it enough. So did we prove it or did I not vary it enough?
Yeah, I understood your
Which-
question the first
which one
time when I
happened?
addressed it. I got interrupted constantly when I tried to address it the first time.
We're listening.
Okay. So it's already been done. So when they varied and manipulated
Dude,
that
I
which
can't
they
sit through
assumed
this.
caused the...
I already told them. How many people heard me say, go back before it's been done? You
We can't do
fucking
that, Jaron.
stupid
That's
Brit.
not
Wake
possible.
up.
Okay, I see. Your request is that I engage
the
in
fuck
time
up.
travel.
Just fucking joke of a show. I don't want anything to do with
If
it.
I can, just allow him to respond, right?
Yes, Jaron, please, could you allow me to not...
He tried. He's not. I said before they discovered it. He's like, okay, well, the thing is, we already discovered it. They already did it.
Yes,
That's not
Jaron.
my issue.
That's right. Yeah, so what I'm suggesting you do then is show by what you're claiming that tomorrow we might not be quite as right as we thought we were, other variables might come along. That's your position. I understand it. Well, I'm saying in the case of your example that you gave me with vitamin C, in order for that which you claim
It's
to
not
be
my
true,
example. It's one
there's
of
the
your only
interruption
two
again.
examples
Please, can
of
you?
things
What am I going to
science
do, hosts? I don't know what to do. He's started the show off by claiming this is how I behave, and I've endured it from him non-stop. What do I do? Do you want to appeal to him again?
I don't want to mute anybody. You know what I mean? I'm trying not to. I don't
If
like
you want to
the
do a
level
time
of
thing,
the.
that's fine. Tell me the time, and I will not talk for that. amount of time.
Now, for the next couple of minutes, could you stop talking? Is that possible?
Sure,
Okay, 2 minutes
sounds good.
or longer, Nathan.
I'll mute.
As long as you need. You just said a couple
Okay.
minutes, so as long as you
Yes,
need.
okay, cool. So I get a few minutes like Jaron did at the beginning. Brilliant, excellent stuff.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I see Jaron as a lost soul, right, that does get 99% of the way to what I'm trying to pass on to him, which is to say that Jaron's done an excellent job of disseminating how the people out there who claim to have science don't. And the only reason that they are claiming to have science is because all of us in the Western world were educated how science proves things. What I'm saying to you about A causing B or A not causing B, that's hypothesis construction, was taught to all of us so that we all understood that science proves things. So that when charlatans and shysters came along and said, you know that light in the sky? That's got a core that's, I don't know, gas. Science! And when people heard that, they went, oh, that's proven then. Well, how do we know we've got an outer space? Well, because science shows us that we've got an outer space. Science, for the general populace, means proof because you were taught it was proof. Now, actual science does prove things and does benefit humanity. For example, using the scientific method to vary and manipulate that which would assume to be causing this effect of people dying at sea, scurvy. You vary and manipulate something in a formulated scientific prediction, that's a hypothesis, that scurvy, your independent variable, the thing that you're going to be, yeah, that's right, varying. Yeah, how much of it? That's right, it's going to be varied. Okay, well, that variation will induce the effect. Or, alternatively, the null. Zero difference result. You vary it, and no matter how much you vary it, it doesn't cause the effect. Now, I understand that this concept, for somebody incredibly stupid, like didn't understand their 5th grade lesson in science, for them, this is going to be complicated. For the rest of us, it's simple, really easy to understand. You can't simultaneously be the cause of something, that would be the lack of vitamin C causing scurvy, or the lack of vitamin C not causing scurvy in any quantity. Now, again, like I say, some people don't understand the difference between qualitative and quantitative when they're varying something. And we'll suppose that if you put a candle in something and it doesn't boil, then you've done enough variation of heat. Now, that obviously is retarded. And obviously I have demonstrated by an affirmation from my opponent who claims I am a scammer for the affirmation he gave me that science absolutely can prove things. It's embedded in the hypothesis. I have demanded that this person who has constantly chanted through me, and not only chanted through me, you line up the things he claimed about my show at the beginning of this rant that he gave us with what he's just done to me for the last 10 straight minutes and see if the two line up. And then when I say Jaron is merely projecting his own ineptitude and ego onto me where he is wrong, and he's affirmed he's wrong here today. He affirmed, oh yeah, I understand how that could only be proven because the other one couldn't be, it would violate the law of non-contradiction. He affirmed he understood, then doubled down indefinitely and continued to call me a scammer for what he affirmed, which is that science can prove things. It does, it has, in order for him to assert that it doesn't and might change tomorrow, like all the pseudoscience scammers who claim to have proof when they say they have science, but haven't put their claim through the scientific method. That's independent variable will cause dependent variable, and independent variable will not cause dependent variable. That's a hypothesis, and the variation of the presumed cause is the experiment. It'll either cause the effect, that's vitamin C, and the variation thereof, that's how much of it. And if the lack thereof in any quantity still has the effect of men dying, then you rule it out. That's how it works. Now, I am not a scammer, and while Jaron might claim that him sitting on his pedestal with more viewers than me and telling people, with my limited number of viewers to begin with, that I am in fact scamming people is absolutely detrimental to my very limited income and my extremely hard and daily work on this subject, learning about how scammers, the real scammers, say they've got science, and that would mean to say that they've been through the scientific method, and they haven't. Now, understanding the scientific method is to understand how you would validate something and prove it. because your antithesis of your prediction can't also be true if it's a true hypothesis. That's it. I'm done.
Thank you there, and appreciate it, Jaron, for letting him finish that up. Jaron, I think your mic is muted. Did you mute your mic?
My bad. Sorry. Yeah. That's fine. So if we were to, and let's just say we're going to use a what if, or let's say that it took 1100 degrees to boil water. Okay, we're just pretending. Now, if we did a cause and effect relationship test, we do a hypothesis, and we say we think heat causes water to boil, and we keep varying and manipulating the heat up into the point where we can't get it any hotter. Okay, then at what point do we say, oh, well, did we prove the null hypothesis, or did we? Well, obviously, heat didn't cause water to boil. And in fact, for example, I could leave that pot of water in my oven all day long. My pot of water at 400 degrees will never boil. Now, there's reasons for that. We know the reasons for that. But I'm saying if we're doing a scientific experiment and we vary and manipulate that heat, we turn up the oven as hot as the oven goes, and it never boils, then according to Nathan, I just proved the null. Or he might come back and say, no, you didn't vary and manipulate it enough, meaning that I need to keep turning up the heat. So what I'm saying is at some point, we wouldn't be able to turn up the heat anymore. And so in that little story I just told, anybody who has any kind of rational mind would go, oh yeah, you're right. Sometimes we wouldn't be able to get to the answer. For example, I mean, how recently have we been able to take things down to absolute zero? Just recently. So what if there was things in the scientific method, but they didn't know that we could get things that cold? Because it's difficult to do.
Okay,
you can't get it that cold, neither can I.
Is that the end of your question? Can I answer you?
No. So yeah, my question would be then, from that, at what point do we recognize that humans might not have the ability to get to the correct answer?
Okay. I've already attempted to answer this 3 times, but I'll try once more. And it was in the message I sent to you that you didn't read because you thought it was cut and paste. Systematic experimentation. There is an ongoing process, always. So if you think you... So I'm not going to get the opportunity to explain that. I'm not going to get the opportunity to answer.
Because just yesterday on your show, you said things are proven, and then we never need to visit them again. So, so now you're saying
do you want to play me
process.
that? Do you want to play me that?
Which
clip,
one
please?
is it? Well, I was listening to it yesterday. I don't know what show it was. I can go to my history and probably find it. You said...
Do you want to do that?
You need me to find, you say that's something you've never said before?
Yes, so you said that I'm a scammer because I say science proves things. I went and got a clip of you saying that's how you know he's a scammer. When Nathan says science proves this and that was verbatim. That's what you said. That made you a liar. Now I'm asking you to go and get a quote of me saying that. Go.
Saying what?
What you just claimed I said.
What was it?
I don't know, Jaron. You're the one claiming it.
So you want me to go get something that you don't even know what it was? I asked you, did you ever say that? You don't even know what it was, but you're saying you never said it. So how are you going to say you didn't say it if you don't even know what the fuck I said?
Would this be semantics, or would this be an endeavor to prove that
scurvy
doesn't prove something the following day?
You're just a showman. You don't even care about conversation. You don't even care about truth.
Okay, I'll try and respond when you're done. Just let me know when you're done. I'll try and respond.
Did you ever say that once something is proven, it doesn't need to be visited again?
Once it's been validated, you put it through, as I've explained now 4 times, systematic experimentation. That is to say, people still do experiments that have already been validated. To this day, people still do them. Now, all I'm interested in the dissemination to you here today is the construction of a hypothesis, because it's where the empiricism and proof comes from in the process. You can't both have A causing B and A not causing B. That's the bit I want to disseminate to you, and that's all I'm hoping to achieve today.
Okay, so if you're saying that we can't have both be true, but we now know today that heat does cause water to boil. But also, if we did a test where I put heat to my water in the oven all day, and it did not confirm that hypothesis. So therefore, it is both. It both doesn't and does cause water to boil. Correct?
So you're suggesting that the application of heat doesn't cause water to boil?
I left a pot of water in my oven at 400 degrees all night. It never boiled.
I see. So because you, as an individual, couldn't induce the effect of boiling, you have validated your null. Fortunately, the 8th attempt, this process has systematic experimentation built within the method so that others continue to endeavour to try and find out what does cause it. Now, while
I thought
you weren't successful in this instance, others might vary the heat and induce the effect. And then they validate the null, at which point they can't have heat not cause the effect, because then if no matter how much heat you applied, it would never boil. But it will, because you can't have both be true. Heat can't both cause water to boil and, at the same time, not cause it to boil. Only one can be proven when you vary heat and boil the water, inducing the effect that you're trying to induce.
Yeah, I don't think you see the point. I mean, if you're talking about getting as close as we can to the truth, I told you that I'll agree with you there. But all I'm saying is that you could never know all variables. Let's say that, like Riley's experiment with the egg, right? So you would say that Riley has proven that relative density is the cause of things going down or up?
The dependent variable is vector change, regardless of direction. The independent variable was the density of the medium. The independent variable, that would be the density of the medium, was indeed varied, and it induced the effect of the dependent variable, a vector change. He then ruled out his null, because upon variation of a density variation by him, the experimenter, he induced the effect. To confirm the null, he would have to change the density and not get a vector change ever. Not just, let's say for the sake of argument, Jaron, just imagine for a moment that experiment that was done by Anthony Riley. Now imagine that we are 500-foot tall giants. And when we look upon that little teeny tiny little glass, it really didn't look like the egg moved at all because we're so big. Yeah. But then we'd have to vary it a little bit more, like put more candles under and stuff like that to prove and validate the alternative hypothesis.
Right. But what if there was something like a magnetic pull that was repelling the egg, but it's attracted to the salt? So we put the salt in thinking that what we proved was that the change in the medium is what caused the egg to go, when really it was because of magnetics. What would be the case there? See, because if we didn't know the other variable of magnetics existed, and throughout all of science, this has always happened.
You can do that.
We're missing some element.
Okay, you can do that.
So explain to me how that's handled.
Earlier, right, okay. So you're suggesting that the observed phenomena of vector change can be induced by magnetism.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying in that case,
that's a hypothesis. What you're doing is making a scientific prediction. Your scientific prediction independent variable is magnetism, right?
No, I'm not saying that. Let's say that that's what's going on behind the scenes. You're missing the point completely.
No, I'm not.
Riley comes and he does the experiment, but he doesn't know about the magnetics involved. He's going to come to a conclusion, and other testers are going to come over and they're going to come to the conclusion, and everybody's going to walk away thinking something was proven when it wasn't, because you didn't know that there's an underlying cause that you can't see. That's what I'm saying. Now, you should at this point go, oh, in that case, Jaron, what's important is that we actually have the correct hypothesis, and that we have all elements taken into account, and that we can look at every single possible fluctuation that could be involved, or any kind of other feature. Then that would be us agreeing. And I would say, yes, we can get as close as we can to the truth, as long as the test is correct, the hypothesis is correct. We've gone through all avenues, all possible scenarios, but we'll never be at that point, ever.
Okay, I'll try again.
Where I have a problem, hold on, I just have one problem.
Let me know when you're done.
Is when you're saying, and this is my biggest problem with it, you've actually said on your show, and I can bring it up if you want, somebody was saying something about, well, this could change. And you said, no, it can never. If we've proven it, that's it. It's proven. End of story. You said that. So that means in your mind, science does stop. Once we've proven something, the science on that can stop.
No, systematic experimentation. I'm pretty sure I've gone through this. However, the magnetic field that you postulated...
Why don't you answer questions? Why don't you answer...
I'm about to. I get about 5 words out and then...
Yeah, but I asked you a question. I don't care how many words you're going to get out that aren't answering my question. Answer the question, because this is where it's proving you to be full of shit. You say one story and then you say something else on your show.
Okay, I asked you to go and
Yesterday,
get me saying
the other
this.
day, you were saying
Sorry,
that
I asked
we're
you.
all
I
here
thought
because of
we
science.
covered this. I'm sorry. I thought
you said we're talking.
you
said
keep
we're
telling me
talking
what
on
I've said.
computers because
Do you
of
want
science.
to play it? So when you said you didn't say I was a scammer for saying science proves, I went and got. That's how you know you are being scammed when Nathan
that
says
cut-up
this
piece of
and
thing,
that
the
about
cut-up
science.
video?
Why am I being moderators? What's going on? I'm trying to address him. He's saying no after 4 words. You're not addressing my question. How do you know I got 4 words out? It's unreasonable.
I'm
It's a
waiting.
projection of the behaviour you said I exhibit on my show. Please stop projecting your horrible behaviour onto me and stop doing it now. And just listen. Systematic experimentation for about the 8th time. Experiments will continue. All that matters is whether or not they've got a valid hypothesis. And contained within the hypothesis, only one thing, in Anthony's case, density, will be varied. Everything else is held constant. Now, I'll keep trying to get this in, but I get interrupted constantly. You can, if you choose to, rearrange the variables and hold the density constant and vary the magnetic field. You can do that. Independent variable magnetic field, dependent variable naturally observed phenomena, vector change, null, independent variable magnetism or magnetic fields. No effect will be observed. No vector change. That's a valid scientific prediction that you've got. So now, although I wasn't necessarily intending to get beyond the predictive stage because that's where the empiricism that proves you wrong that I'm a scammer for saying science proves when that's all it can do. That's all I wanted to achieve here. Not for money. I mean, yes, it is detrimental when you say I'm a scammer for saying science proves when that's all it can do. And you're saying you won't concede that. Pretty much a projection of what you said I was doing on my show. Just pure projection.
No,
But
because you're talking about logic.
Is logic. If A then B or if A not B is pure logic.
Right, correct.
Yeah,
Those
that's
things
what
can
the
be
method
proven.
is. That's a scientific prediction. There is a logic to a hypothesis.
Where's A and B? Where's A and B in our tests?
Oh, right. So like independent variable vitamin C, dependent variable men
Now
dying.
you've added things that are not letters. It's no longer mathematics. It's no longer provable.
It's the basic raw logic that I've had to dumb it right down to get you to understand it. That's right.
No, it's not provable. Can't be proven.
So we haven't proven that vitamin C and the lack thereof causes scurvy. Tomorrow,
as
it
close
might be
as
the
we can.
case that you as an audience, according to Jaron, can stop consuming vitamin C and not get scurvy, if he's correct.
We've come as close as we can. That's the current belief. That's the current truth.
It's a fact. It's proven. It's been proven. Sorry, Jaron, you're wrong.
Again.
No, Jaron, that's incorrect. I just want to correct you without interruption, if you don't mind. No, the lack of vitamin C has been proven to be the cause of scurvy by way of scientific validity. It is empirically validated because it has been proven with real science that had a scientific prediction that was validated.
So you don't think that there's a possibility that in the future vitamin C...
That's how it was proven and won't change tomorrow, contrary to your assertion. I know you desperately need to interrupt how wrong you are, but I'll just try that again, hopefully without the interruption at the end. Why am I getting interrupted? Mods, maybe you should step in, because I'm not getting to make my conclusion.
Hold on, he's double speaking. He said that you said that systematic experimentation would continue, but you just got done saying that it's proven and it will never change. So which one is it?
No, it will. You'll never change it, but it doesn't mean to say that you couldn't, if you chose to, deprive a man of vitamin C tomorrow, Jaron, because you think it might change. So if you think it might change and you want to put your money on it, just deprive a man of vitamin C tomorrow so you can prove that you're right and that science doesn't prove things. It might change tomorrow. You just have to do that, Jaron. You have to, not me. I know that it's been proven empirically because the lack of vitamin C can't both be the cause of scurvy and not be the cause of scurvy simultaneously. It would violate the law of non-contradiction and is the empiricism that the scientific method offers when proving things, as you nod along.
An incorrect.
However, again, I'm not seeming to get my conclusion, Mods. It's about the 10th attempt.
Try again.
I can't. Jaron keeps interrupting me. I keep appealing to you. You're not doing anything.
Boy, this guy's desperate.
I just want to make my point without you interrupting me.
Go ahead, Nathan. Yep.
Oh, thank you. I don't actually need permission. I just need Jaron to stop interrupting me, fundamentalistly, religious zealot, muting me, projecting that which he moaned about my show directly onto me by doing it. That's what people who lie and project and are actually scammers do. they project their own lies and bullshit about how they behave onto their opponent
Can't
when
find
they
me acting
claim
like
that
this
they
with-
won't interrupt and won't take themselves off mute and
Nathan
fundy
acts
mute them
like
with their
this
fundy
every
mute button.
fucking show,
They're just
and
liars.
I've never acted like this once. Do you see the difference there? I wonder what's causing me to act like this. Could it be the asshole that I'm having to deal with? Probably.
So what was your objection to my show? I shout down my opponents and alienate them from my show. Go, tell me about that again, Jaron.
Every show. Yeah.
Talk through them and stuff, right?
Yeah. Every show.
Like
If
you're
I
doing to
can
me now,
attempt
right?
to get it back on track, gentlemen, if you're interested, when it comes to the scurvy thing, I kind of, I'm trying, maybe, am I steel manning this correctly, Jaron? If basically what he's saying is before we have, and even after we have identified maybe that the lack of vitamin C does cause scurvy and that we need to be given citrus to these sailors and whatnot. Is it not possible through further scrutiny that we find there possibly a combination of things, or something, just as an example, you know what I mean? I was talking about something else.
Do you want me to answer?
Absolutely, please.
Yeah, if you want to, you can, like with magnetism, you can hold the vitamin C constant and see if you induce the effect by varying something else.
Oh, we already proved it.
Yeah. Sorry, did you say we already proved it? The thing that you've claimed I'm a scammer for saying?
Yep. I'm in your little realm. You already said we proved it. Why would we continue testing?
You just said
Why
we
would
proved
hold
it.
vitamin C?
No, you just said we proved it.
Holy shit.
Well, he was saying
so
by your standard,
fucking
Nathan.
loser.
That's I'm trying to clarify. I'm trying to clarify to come in the middle.
But you know he's not this dumb. You know it.
I think I don't think it's a matter of done. I just sometimes I honestly believe there's cultural differences. To be honest with you, I think there's cultural differences.
This
between...
isn't cultural. This is empirical. When you detail logic, that's not anything to do with culture.
Well,
that's logic.
Absolutely, I agree with that. But in the way that we communicate these things to each other, and I think sometimes it gets lost in translation. I really do.
No, I agree. That's a failing on my part. I will concede that. That's a complete failing on my part. For the last 4 years, I've failed to educate Jaron on how scientific method is empiricism incarnate. That's what it is. It only can prove things. But he still goes around calling me a scammer, saying, because I say science proves, when really vitamin C might not cause scurvy tomorrow, according to him. That's reasonable according to him. I think it's very unreasonable, and I'd like a concession. He's just said we can prove it, and then said no, that's actually not what I'm saying. So okay,
can we maybe try?
Wow.
Is
Since
scurvy
this is such a contentious?
Now I'm getting interrupted by the mods. Now I'm getting interrupted by the mods. Literally getting interrupted by the mods now. The ones that are supposed to be saving Jaron's interruption from me, I'm getting interrupted by the mods now. So, Jaron, do you believe that it is not proven that the lack of vitamin C causes scurvy? Is that not
Never
proven?
Said that.
So it is proven. So that is proven then.
Example.
So is it proven or not?
100%.
What? 100% what?
I'm asking you, you're saying proven? Are you mean to a level of 100% or to 99.8?
100% empirically validated. Do you believe that vitamin C and the lack thereof is not the cause of scurvy?
It could be other things as well.
So you suggest that if you hold a man's vitamin C constant, the level, you can induce scurvy by some other means then?
Sure, maybe.
Okay. That's what you think?
It's never off the table.
Okay. I'm sure the medical profession are enamored and you will be hired immediately, Jaron.
Yeah, so, Nathan, does vaccines cure polio?
I'm not here to talk about vaccines. I'm talking about empirical
but you're here to talk about scurvy?
You brought it up, not me. I didn't bring that up. I didn't bring that up. You did.
You just told me the scientific,
you brought it up.
the medical world, they proved it. Okay, the medical world also proved that your rubella and mumps shots are needed and healthy for your baby.
Yeah, I'm not here to talk about medicine in that regard. You brought up scurvy.
You're not going to talk about anything that disproves you, of course. Of course you're not.
Okay, if you want to scattergun me, I'm done here.
It's such a ridiculous, rigid, fucking nonsensical opinion of science where you're like, A is B. Yeah, that's called logic. And with mathematics, we can have actual proof. 1 + 1 will equal 2 today, tomorrow, and for all time. It can never change. Nothing about reality, science, discoveries, experimentation can ever offer that kind of proof, ever, period. If you can't see that, you're a scammer.
So I'm a scammer if I don't accept that tomorrow vitamin C and the lack thereof might cause scurvy.
Didn't say that. That's called a straw man.
Not a straw man. It's your example
All
you gave
yeah,
me.
it is. It's all you got is a straw man.
No,
you
you
made up
gave
that
me the
argument, not my
example.
argument.
You gave,
It's not
yes,
my
it
argument.
is. You gave me that example. It was your example.
No, I didn't give that example.
Yes, you did.
I never said that we would find something that is different tomorrow about scurvy and vitamin C.
So it's proven then that vitamin C and the lack thereof causes scurvy. It's proven.
Sure, as much as things can be proven, yeah.
As much as, so tomorrow it's a possibility then. If it's as much as it can be and it might change, you're suggesting that tomorrow the lack of vitamin C, if you deprive a man of vitamin C, it won't cause scurvy because it might change tomorrow then, by your logic.
We could find out tomorrow that vitamin C is actually a collection of 3 different things. And out of those 3 different things, only one of those things is actually the cause of scurvy, the lack of that one thing. So it's no longer proof that vitamin C is included in that. Now we have to remove that, say, oh, it's actually 3 things. This is vitamin C. This we're going to call vitamin C1. This is we're going to call vitamin C2. And it's vitamin C2 that does it. That's why science always progresses. If we lived like you do, we wouldn't progress at all.
Through proof that vitamin C or the refinement of vitamin
Because none of
C2
it
in
would
that
be
instance would be further proven more empirically to have a more refined definition of what the cause was by proving it, by continuing to do systematic experimentation, you're saying?
Yeah, but I'm the one who says to continue doing systematic experimentation. You told somebody on your show the other day that why would you do anything else? It's been proven. It's you don't need to touch it again. You don't need to go there anymore.
That's right. So yes, so by example, I don't need to now start messing around with people's vitamin C content just in case the lack of vitamin C might not cause scurvy. It's been proven. We can pretty much just give people vitamin C and make sure they have it in their bloodstream, and then they won't die of scurvy because it's been proven. Something you say I'm a scammer for saying.
It's not been proven.
So it's not been proven that the lack of... Oh my God. Sorry, you were ranting earlier about he can't be this stupid. Jaron is this stupid. He's saying contradictory in circles, round and round, with constant interruptions. When I summarise how badly he's contradicting himself, that tomorrow the vitamin C and the lack thereof won't cause scurvy.
Human beings tell me. I mean, human beings have said that scientifically, Tylenol is helpful for your headaches.
That's a good.
But it's not. It's what?
Red herring.
Why?
Because I'm talking about hypothesis construction with an example you gave.
Okay, that was the example I gave you. You want to do a different one?
I don't need to. I've already had you affirm several times.
Let's ask this. Hold on.
Is that a question I'm going to answer? Was it rhetorical?
No, yeah, this is rhetorical. So this one I want you to answer. If Oakley is correct in his assessment that science does prove things, then I'm going to ask him, what things has science proven? So far, you've given us 2. If heat, water boils, and if lack of vitamin C, scurvy happens.
Yeah, I don't need any more. When you claim I'm a scammer for saying science proves, when you've affirmed that science has proven things, that's all I need, Jaron, to prove that you're wrong and that you're unjustified in calling me a scammer. And it's obvious that when I highlight my point that it's not justified to call me a scammer for saying that science proves, when you give 2 examples of things that it's proved, that just makes you wrong.
No, I gave you 2 examples of things you said it proved, not that are proven.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, but so you're telling me science was involved in the discovery that heat causes water to boil?
No, it's just a dumbed down example for you specifically.
Okay, so then if that's a dumbed down example, I'm asking for a real world example. Give me one.
Hypothesis that you gave was perfectly acceptable with vitamin C and scurvy.
That's your second proof that science is done. I want another one.
You need more to when you claim that by saying science proves I'm a scammer, I'm just answering you.
I've already disproven both those.
So tomorrow, lack of vitamin C won't cause scurvy because Jaron's right.
You keep missing the point. I'm saying not today. I'm saying in the past. Let's go back 200 years.
I don't have a time machine. I'm really sorry. I can't do that.
What do you mean?
I don't have a time machine.
Okay, we're going to pretend. You ever pretended before?
No, I don't like doing that. I just like showing people that they're wrong with their own words. So when you give me an example,
we go back in time, then it's exposed that the people back then may have not known what we know today.
No, that's right. That's correct. They didn't. Then they formulated a scientific prediction and varied their presumed cause to validate it empirically.
And are you saying they could never have been wrong about that presumed cause?
They could either validate their null, which would be to say if they vary something and it doesn't cause the effect, then they validate their null.
Okay, so if we thought that the waterfall...
Well, one quick question, Jaron. Do you understand that if you validate your null, you're also proving something? You've proven that statement true.
Sure. I've already said that is the case, but I've asked you, couldn't you be wrong about that?
What is the case?
Okay, so we talked about the heat. If my hypothesis was, and we're going back in time, not today, because today I understand how ovens work and I understand that the heat transfer is different than when you have the fire underneath the pot. I get all that. I'm saying go back in time. Let's say we see this boiling water at a hot spring. We're like, what's causing that? Somebody says maybe it's ice. I say that doesn't make a lot of sense. It doesn't seem like the water's hot. Ice doesn't seem to be under there. I bet it's heat. That we all agree we want to do a test. And so we keep trying to get water to boil. But let's say that the temperature to boil water was 600 degrees. And back 100 years ago, maybe we had a hard time getting the water to that temperature. So we keep trying, we keep varying and manipulating, as you say, the independent variable, which is the heat. We take it from candle to bonfire to a bigger fire till we do as much as we can at the time, and then it never boils the water. Maybe the vessel that the water's in is too thick to get the water hot. We don't know. We're just doing experimentation. We're just dumb humans. But then at the end of our experimentation, we would get to the end of that road and we would say, guess what? We've now proven the null because we took the varying and manipulating as far as we possibly could as human beings. And we didn't know that eventually down the road, they would invent some machine that can actually heat things up to a proper temperature, at which point we realized, oh, it was heat. We just weren't hot enough. This is the problem with all of science.
There is something that I've neglected. So my bad, it's my problem because I've missed out step 1 and step 2 that would address this. So if you will indulge me, Jaron, I'd like to explain that now if you will allow me.
Sure.
Okay. So in the case of the natural phenomena, the dependent variable, be it water boiling, the first step in the scientific method is to observe the natural phenomena occurring. Now, typically, when I detail the method, I leave out step 2, just to keep it really concise and clean. But step 2 is do background research. See if anybody else has done any experiments, if you like, beforehand. See if anybody else has done any research on the subject. See what information you can gather before you make your educated guess in your scientific prediction that's empirical and will only prove things. Before you do that, you see water boiling. Now, in your imaginary land going back in time where water will only boil at 500 degrees C, you wouldn't be observing that as a natural phenomenon if that was the case, because nothing naturally boils water in that way. So in this instance, the first thing you do is you see a boiling hot spring and go, well, that's a phenomena. I wonder what caused that. Then you suppose a cause of it. And because you've got close and gone, whoa, a bit hot, you might guess it's heat that causes it. And then if you put a candle on underneath, I'm not trying to be facetious, if you put a candle underneath, it wouldn't replicate the experience that you had when you observed the natural phenomena in the first place. So your educated guess is going to have a bearing on what you manipulate. And in this instance, although it's not quantitative versus qualitative that I'm highlighting here, it's just that you'll have a good idea of how much heat in this instance you might want to apply, because when you test your hypothesis, your aim is to ascertain the cause. You're trying hard to prove it, not putting a candle underneath or putting an extra thick crock pot to not prove it.
Would you say this, Nathan? Nathan, would you say that a person could make a mistake because they're fallible and they didn't know to the level that they needed to go to prove it? So again, if you would you admit that could happen, or are you going to admit?
Yeah,
or are you
of course.
Going to say
Yeah, okay, absolutely.
So if
I'll
that
concede.
happens, Nathan, now we're on the same page now. If that happens, then that person would think they proved the null, and they'd be incorrect.
Yeah,
correct.
And as I say, that happens all the time. People make errors, and you're right. But embedded in the process, that's why I kept on affirming systematic experimentation. Yeah,
right.
Somebody could have formulated an invalid hypothesis to begin with. That's absolutely the case. Yeah, people are fallible.
So when are you going to how are you going to make the decision that somebody didn't make a mistake? How are you going to be the determination? So we have to trust, hold on, I'm talking. So we have to trust Nathan Oakley's opinion of the experiment before we call it proof, because they could have gotten it wrong. But the fact that somebody could get it wrong isn't evidence enough for you to realize that we could never assume that everybody got everything right.
Don't assume anything. You do it yourself. You can validate hypotheses.
What if I'm wrong as well? What if I'm wrong as well?
I was talking.
Okay, cool for you.
You just told me off when I affirmed. I just said, yeah, agreed with you, and you told me off. Now I'm doing the same back. Good for me. Yeah, just don't interrupt. It's easy. That's right. Systematic experimentation would mean that you pass it off to others who are independent of you, that don't just assume that you've got it right. They do it themselves with their own setup to validate it. So absolutely not. You don't trust that everybody's just done the experiment right and that that's where the process ends. It's done systematically. So step one, like I was trying to go through a second ago, observe natural phenomena. Typically not mentioned on my show because it's not as concise. Do some research. You know, get close to the hot spring that's boiling so that you go, oh, it's quite hot. Might not be able to achieve that with just a candle. Anyway, then you do step two, formulate a hypothesis. If I vary the heat, then I will induce the effect. That's your alternative. And if I vary the heat, it won't induce the effect. So that when you vary the heat, it either induces the effect or doesn't. Now, if you're saying I didn't do enough of the variation, then yeah, you will, in your mind, have affirmed the null when you haven't. Because someone else could come along and suppose the exact same cause, but get a positive result. But all that means is you had a fault in your experimental setup, not that you validated the null, because the validation, I'll just say it once more, I'm nearly there, requires systematic experimentation, not just one.
Okay, so at what point in a test or experimentation can we now call it proof?
When it's been done systematically and systematically ruled out. Every single time someone applied heat to water, it never boiled under any circumstances. Every single time they did it, they never induced the effect. Then, through systematic experimentation, you prove the null. And like you said earlier, you understand that you could prove that it... Let me just get an affirmation from you.
I got your story up to the point where you say we proved it because we did systematic experimentation. But what if the temperature, the boiling point of water was beyond our ability to get there? So they would have never reached that conclusion that you claimed. They would have proved the null when it wasn't correct.
Then nobody would have a kettle.
Yeah, this is an example. Okay,
you asked me what would happen. What do you want? You asked me what would happen if we didn't figure out that the application and variation of heat caused water to boil, because water boiling was beyond its current boiling point, therefore we never discovered it. Life would be very different. For one example, we'd have no kettles. What do you want me to say?
The whole point, man. You're missing the point. Because I'm only using these two because these are your two examples that you have. This is all you have. Name one other. If you, this is what you said. You said it's a scientific method. Only a scientific test only proves things. Okay, if that's all it does, then you better have more than two things that it's proven. That's it. Two things. And guess what? It didn't prove anything to do with the heat causing water to boil. That was discovered. Science is supposed to uncover hidden things.
Please let me agree. Okay,
Science is supposed to uncover hidden things.
I agree.
Not things that are obvious.
Yes, I agree. So when you suggest that only two, if you're going to suggest that you have got two results where two people put candles under crock pots and they didn't get the water to boil, we shouldn't just use that to affirm the null. That's right, because I wouldn't call that systematic.
So then what did the test do? I thought the test only proves things.
It does. It either proves the null or it proves the alternative.
Hold on, but what did it do in the case that you just talked about?
You said that an incompetent experimenter. They had a flaw in the experiment. Right. Am I going to answer you, or are you just going to chant through? What's the deal?
Never know when somebody's.
I'm trying to answer you.
Great, you answered.
No, I got interrupted immediately.
Man, the whole thing about the interrupting thing is such a cry.
You brought it up. It was one of your first points.
Keep crying.
You were crying about it. It was one of your first points you brought up. You cried about it.
Yeah, I was telling you why I don't watch your show.
Yeah, because like you're doing to me now, I interrupt people.
Yeah, well, people don't have to watch this. This is not my show.
Right. So your scummy behaviour that you're demonstrating now is the reason you don't watch my show, because of how you're behaving now. I gotcha.
Yes.
That's called projection.
Okay.
Yes, okay. Scummy behaviour from a scumbag. Stop projecting your nasty behaviour when you mute me.
Imagine I had a mute button and I just kept muting you and calling you stupid and saying you're an asshole and you're an idiot, and I just kept muting you. Is that fair?
That's what you are doing. You're talking through me and now you're calling me an asshole and stupid.
God. I said, if you can't even have a conversation with somebody, you're like impossible. There's no, I mean, I don't know. I want to say rude things. It's just, this is miserable because anybody else I have a conversation with is a rational mind, and they'll take what I'm saying and go, oh, that's a good point. Yeah, I see what you're saying. that how could we ever say something is proven if you're saying that sometimes the experimenters make mistakes which affect the results? Therefore, how are you ever going to claim that the experiment has been done perfectly with no mistakes? That means that we then have to depend on you to be the arbiter of all truth. And I'm not going to give that to you. So I'm going to assume that in any case, there's a possibility that we're wrong. And by doing that, I will always be ready for the next bit of evidence to come forward. I will never shut the door on something. I will never say, nope, it's been proven now. We don't need to look at it ever again, because science is the ever progressing attempt at getting as close as you can to the truth. That's what science is. And the scientific method is the only way, the best way that we have to empirically get as close as we can to that truth. And also, like you said, by redoing experiments, we help clean up any kind of either bias, technically, or like mistake or incorrect application of a hypothesis. That's why we keep doing tests. But you're saying that today, but on your show, you tell people that once something is proven, it all stopped. We don't need to look at it again. So that's the difference between us two. I'm saying we would never reach that point. You're saying we reach that point. The other thing I'm saying is, I thought it was you who taught me that science was, and the scientific method is about the natural world. But on your show the other day, you're telling everybody that if it wasn't for the scientific method and science, we wouldn't be talking on computers. You realize the difference between technology and science, right?
Yeah. As an outcome of the scientific method, you get technology following. So there's useful, practical, applied technology off the back of scientific discovery, in that case, semiconductors.
Correct. So isn't that what Bob Nodell was saying to you? That he was saying that there were some things that have been determined that have turned into technology that we can use for experimentations, and you were telling him no? Isn't that the
technology,
whole argument?
the technology isn't the science. The technology is the technology. The science came before the technology.
Correct.
And proved something so that you could use that proof to produce technology.
Okay, so what part of the natural world was discovered that led to computers?
The diffraction and the cause thereof in case of the double slit experiment and quantum mechanics.
So the double slit experiment and quantum mechanics is what brought us computers?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Quantum mechanics proved the cause of the diffraction.
Why? It did it. Why? How did it do that?
By varying knowledge of which path.
But that's not the natural world.
Like, you don't think diffraction's natural?
So what did they do? You're telling me they did. What did they do? What did they observe? What was the phenomenon they observed?
I just told you like 5 seconds ago. Diffraction.
They observed diffraction?
That's correct. Third
Okay,
time, yes.
and then what did
yes,
they
diffraction is what
vary
they
and manipulate?
observed. The dependent variable, the naturally occurring phenomena, was the diffraction of light. Light was the phenomena. Diffraction was the phenomena. Jeran.
Okay, so what was the vary and manipulated what?
Knowledge of which path.
Knowledge of which path?
That's correct.
They varied and manipulated knowledge of which path?
Yes. They put it through the experimental stage after formulating a viable hypothesis, which had an independent variable, which was knowledge of which path, and a dependent variable, very much a naturally occurring phenomena of diffraction, and the null hypothesis that if you vary knowledge of which path, it will not cause wave function collapse, which is light diffraction and the collapse thereof, the phenomena that's being studied. Yes. Anything else?
No, that's hilarious.
Sorry, that's what gave us computers that we're now communicating on.
Okay.
Yes, that's correct. The scientific discovery thereof. Yes, the proof that they were given. Yes, the null being ruled out and the affirmative being confirmed.
Yeah.
Proof. That's right.
Thank you, quantum mechanics.
Indeed.
Mhm.
Thank you to the people who followed the scientific method.
Yes, it wasn't computer science, had nothing to do with it.
Say again?
It wasn't mathematics, it wasn't logic, it wasn't ones and zeros. It was the double slit experiment.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
The technology
Good
came
move.
afterwards, but you wouldn't call the technology that developed off the back of the scientific discovery when proving things with the double slit experiment. That's a hypothesis test. That is science, the test, the hypothesis test, and the hypothesis construction. The technology that comes afterwards isn't the hypothesis test. That's the experiment, that's science. They aren't science.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. When was the double slit experiment done?
100 years ago.
Thought it was even longer than that, but all right. And it just took them that long to make computers.
Yeah.
Even though, okay.
I mean, I
I've
don't
never
know. I
heard
don't know.
anybody-
My
I've never heard
history on
anybody
quantum
claim that, so
mechanics
I'd
is
have
not
to-
as good as some people's history on quantum mechanics. I know the bare bones of the experimental setup to the point where I can get
I've
by
just
in a
never
debate.
heard anybody say that before. So
Say what?
that the double slit experiment led to computers. So I'd have to look into that. I've just never heard it. Doesn't mean you're wrong, because I've never heard that.
Okay.
Okay, let's back to what we're talking about. So I would hope, this is what I would hope we could walk away with, is Jaron says that science doesn't prove things unequivocally 100%. He thinks we should always continue to do experiments and tests, even on things that we think are proven, because we never know, new things might be discovered, or we might have done part of the test incorrectly, or we might have had some bias going into it. And you would say, why do I keep hearing somebody talk? And you would say, well, no, you feel differently. You feel that we can prove things unequivocally because that's all the scientific method does, even though it only has two things that you can name, even though that's all it does. So can we just agree to that and walk away? I mean, what else do you need me to say?
You
Because I
understand?
think what you
Well,
want
there
me to
was one
say
of
is
the.
science proves things.
Well, there was something I was hoping to get common ground with you to end it on, actually, which was where you said, well, if you're affirming the null, well, you know, you're not proving something. Okay. But that was the only
When did
thing
I
I
say
wanted
that?
to round out on, if I can beg your indulgence again, which is to say
Hold
that.
on, hold on. I just want to make sure we're on the same page. You said I said that? Or you said that?
I'm going to say something now, and you can either take it or not. It's up to you.
Okay.
So when you validate a null, that is to say you get a zero difference result. Yeah. Now,
Okay.
beyond, I understand and accept your valid critique that you couldn't just take one person doing it or just two people doing it. It'd have to be done over and over and over and over and over again, always showing the same result. But if, like in your example, let's pretend it's not water boiling, right? It's uranium boiling or something obscure that isn't something that obviously directly affects us with boiling kettles, right? So I'll use your example again, but with uranium boiling, let's say that we observe that naturally. We just see it and it's boiling. We go, what the hell causes that? And we genuinely don't know, but we suppose it's heat, and it don't matter what we do. Let's say we can't stop it boiling, yeah? Doesn't matter how much we cool it. We can't figure out what's making it boil because we can't stop the effect for the sake of argument, right? At which point, when you vary the temperature, in this case I'm saying cool it, just to make it very different to the boiling water example. When you've done it over and over and over again, everybody's tried it. They're all trying to stop it from boiling, whatever element I just described, and they never ever achieve it, no matter how much they do it. Would you agree that at that point they've proven the null statement that A, cooling temperature, won't cause gallium not boiling or whatever I said earlier? Do you understand that would be proving the null?
So now tell me, what if the way we could get it to stop boiling was to take it to absolute zero, but that we didn't have a way to get there? So we all did it. 50 people did the test. We all took it down as cold as we could get it, and we never could make it stop boiling. So we now proved the null or whatever. But then 10 years down the road, 50 years down the road, somebody figures out a way to get things even colder. We run it back through the test, and now we realize that we were originally wrong. That's my whole point, is that could happen at any point, and we would never know that it's happening.
Absolutely perfect. So at the point that you're saying that because we can't attain absolute zero, it may be the case. Now, again, don't take this the wrong way. That's fallacious because it's an appeal to the future fallacy. But notwithstanding that, it's not really the point. If you're suggesting that by way of systematic experimentation, you constantly go through the process, you constantly vary and manipulate the variable to see if it still causes the effect like it always did, then yeah, that's absolutely correct. You would, though, at that process, bearing in mind that if you accept in your example that we can't reach absolute zero, like we can't now, because that's why we've got it in the example, it's, again, fallacious to have in your example the scenario where we do achieve absolute zero, because as it stands, we can't. So therefore, in your scenario, you would agree, given the fact we can't achieve absolute zero in that setting, we would affirm our null. We'd prove that the statement that the temperature won't affect the boiling would be proven true then.
No, because it does. When it gets to 0, it will.
So only with an appeal to the future fallacy, you mean?
No, because I thought we're telling a story here. So we could say instead that we do this whole test uranium thing, and let's say at 10 Kelvin is where it stops boiling. But let's say we can't get that. We only can get to 12 to 15, whatever. So we can't get there. Then did we prove anything with our scientific test?
No, because
My
again,
answer would be no.
good example. Yeah, exactly. So at that point, you know that in the experimental setup that all you can do is vary the temperature. And because you can't vary it enough, you'd continue the process, wouldn't you? The systematic process would still kick in because you'd still got scope to vary it.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's so if you're talking about we know the temperatures and we know 10 Kelvin, but I'm even saying let's remove that and say that we're just primitive people and we're testing things. The problem is at any experiment, you can always come up with something that somebody could have been doing incorrectly. That to me, that's a no-brainer. Otherwise, what you have to admit is what you have to claim is that humans are perfect and they're never perfect. So if we're never perfect, then the chances that we get a hypothesis, an experimentation, an observation, that we get all those perfectly correct, plus we knew all possible variables, is literally impossible. It cannot happen. So
I agree, but that's why it's controlled. So you only vary one thing. So yeah, there's loads of variables. And like with your magnetism example, yeah, feel free to test a different variable and see if you can also induce the effect. When you say heat causes water to boil, holding all things constant, like pressure. So what, if I can alter the pressure, I can also induce the effect? Yeah, that's further discovery. But that doesn't invalidate or confirm the null in the original hypothesis. It's still proven that variation of heat will cause water to boil. You'll never prove the null in that regard. You'll never systematically always try to apply heat and never get it to boil. You'll never do that systematically.
No, not today, but in the past, possibly. Because let's just say we're in a world where fire is hard to come by, but we have ovens that, again, so we're not, maybe we just keep trying to use these ovens and we keep making ovens that get hotter and hotter, but guess what? You're never going to boil water in there.
Yeah, absolutely. You keep doing it systematically until you get to the point where you're 100% certain that you have varied it beyond all variation is possible, and you can then rule it out and confirm the null.
Do you think that's possible, though?
Yeah, you can prove systematically by way of experimentation that if you vary the amount of vitamin C content in a human bloodstream, you'll get scurvy. It's proven.
You're not getting the point, I guess. I mean, the thing is that what you're saying is never going to get me off of my current belief. You're not saying anything that makes me go, oh, Nathan's right. Things can be proven unequivocally without a doubt. It's not happening.
That's what proof is. That's what proof means. If it wasn't, it wouldn't be proof to begin with. So earlier when you're like, I know some of my compadres say they prove this and that with science. Well, no, that's the point. If it wasn't correct, oh no, upon systematic experimentation, it turns out that if you apply a little bit more, it does, then it was never proof to begin with.
Right, but we did the testing to get to that proof.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
And systematically ruled out the null.
Yeah?
No, if you'd systematically ruled out the null, you'd be systematically proving the cause of the effect by inducing the cause of the effect when you did it. Proving your statement as true. A causes B.
Oh, I thought you said we proved the null.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
If we prove the null, we prove that A doesn't cause B.
Correct.
Yeah.
But what if we just didn't get we didn't get the water hot enough? We didn't get the uranium cold enough. There's always a possibility that we didn't go far enough. Just like with your scurvy example, I'm saying let's say that it takes 30 milligrams of vitamin C to, to get somebody over their scurvy.
Yeah, we did it.
So,
done this already.
Okay. So that's my point, is that you're not saying anything that makes me go, oh, you're right. We would always be correct. We wouldn't, because we don't know all things.
No, but we do.
So we don't know how many
we do know, because it has been proven that the lack of vitamin C by way of scientific validation does cause scurvy. That's been proven. And your basis of calling me a scammer to a wider audience than my own is that I say science proves. I played it on a clip.
No, and you keep saying this. I called you a scammer because of how when your numbers got low, you turned on Witsit. When your numbers got low
proves
again,
this, science proves. I like took him.
David,
Science doesn't prove anything.
We'll have you on again.
Did you hear that? Do you want me to play it again?
No, you mean you interrupting me? Oh, he's interrupting me. He's
Back when
mods.
Nathan
Oh,
Oakley
help
kept
me.
saying things like science proves this, science proves. I like took him and said, Nathan, you know science doesn't prove anything, right?
And we
I missed what I said. You didn't. I still don't hear it. I think you've made up
could
what you
do
think I said.
actual science to prove that we're not on a spinning globe.
I like took him and said, Nathan, you know science doesn't prove anything, right?
24 times farther. Scientifically, we can prove that its angular size is too small. Scientifically, we can prove.
Kept saying things like science proves this, science proves.
Scientifically, we can prove.
I like took him and said, Nathan, you know science doesn't prove anything, right?
Right?
And that could be proven scientifically.
Science proves this, science proves. Right? That's how you know you're being scammed. So back when
David,
you kept saying things like science proves this, science proves.
That's how you know you're being scammed, back when Nathan says science proves this and science proves that.
Yeah, I would have to hear that you have that cut. You realize that's not a continuous me speaking.
That last
so I
bit
don't-
was continuous, unedited.
Which last bit?
That's how you'll know you're being scammed, back when Nathan Oakley says science proves this and science proves that. That's
So did I
verbatim.
just say
That's what
before
you
that
said.
all the other things.
Sorry,
all the other
I'm
reasons?
confirming that that's not edited.
No.
That's a verbatim quote that you have lied about 3 times here today. You
No,
said I
I've
was a
not
scammer because of science, and me saying
No.
science proves this and that. That's a verbatim quote.
That's not the reason I said you were a scammer. Why
It's
don't
what you
listen to
said
my-
verbatim.
Well, that's not true.
So
So-
what you said was wrong. Then I'd like you to retract it. Then
Nathan is a scammer for several reasons beyond.
I don't want to
the
hear
fact
why
that
I'm a
he-
scammer. Your quote verbatim is that's how you know you're being scammed when Nathan says science proves this and science proves that. So you're
Yeah, so
saying
then-
that's how you know you're being scammed because I say science proves it does.
No, because of all the times that you have to keep this facade going. You have to.
It's not what you said. That's not what you said.
Well, can we hear the rest of the quote?
The
Can we
quote,
hear that whole video?
I'll put it in quotes. I've played it repeatedly.
You missed the
That's
point.
how
Like
you
I
know
said-
you are being scammed.
Yeah. so
Back
what's the
when
2 sentences
Nathan
before
Oakley
that?
says science proves this and science proves that.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, no, absolutely not reasonable. You understand, as does Dave claim continuously, that science proves this and proves that. So it's
You-
not
if I call-
reasonable to say that to your audience, that's how you know you're being scammed, because I say that. Totally unreasonable.
So I will retract that statement. There's many reasons, including the fact that he will
What
never
statement?
go
You'll
back and
retract
admit
what
that he's
statement?
wrong.
You haven't retracted anything.
I just said I'm retracting that. That's the only way you know, even though I didn't say only, but Nathan is taking it as meaning only. So I'm saying that is not the only reason he's a scammer. There's many other reasons.
What
They
a
were all said in that video.
scumbag. What a scumbag.
That's the truth.
So you're not going to rescind that you know you're being scammed, what you told your audience, because Nathan says science proves this and that. Now it's you reaffirming the other reasons that you didn't say, that I'm not quoting you verbatim on, that I am
How
a
do you know I
scammer.
didn't say 'em?
What
Show-
a total and utter scumbag.
Why don't you show the whole quote? And we'll
I've
learn if
played
that's
it.
the only thing I said.
I have played it. You're saying you didn't say that verbatim quote. I'll repeat it again, probably with a lot of interruption. Quote, Jeranism. That is how you know you're being scammed. Back when Nathan Oakley said science proves this and science proves that. End quote, Jeran.
Well, so that's all. So the entire show, that's the only reason I gave for calling you a scammer.
That is the
Is that what you're
reason
saying?
I'm here to ask for a retraction, because science
Okay.
does prove by way of systematic experimentation based on a hypothesis.
Can you tell me
Therefore,
which-
while I'm being interrupted asking for my retraction from Jeran for his claims I'm a
Yes.
scammer because I say science proves this and science proves that, according to
You
him.
keep saying that. You keep claiming that. That's not the truth. There's many reasons.
What a scumbag.
Yeah, well, there's many reasons I think of you as a scammer. I do not think somebody who will not admit when he's wrong, that has to go after flat earth globers that show up at his show, that now he sits and reviews
Oh my
other
God.
people's debate.
So rather than making the retraction, you're going to launch into a whole load of ad homs. What a scumbag.
ad homs,
I'm
what do you
done.
mean?
Thank you for having me, gentlemen.
Where was there an ad hom?
Thank you for having me.
You can't even tell the truth.
Oh, thank you, all of you, in my live stream. What an absolute shit show and joke. Given he was proven wrong and conceded on multiple occasions, you'd expect him at the very least to rescind or retract that comment that I'm a scammer based on his assertions that I say science proves this and that. What an absolute scumbag. As I said in the past, this won't be the end, unfortunately, for all the people who would rather I just give up on Jeran. No, I will make the attempt again, exactly as I said preemptively to this discussion, regardless of how well I achieve my outcome and aims. I got exactly what I wanted, which is Jaren confirming, yes, you can prove it, based on the hypothesis A causing B or A not simultaneously not causing B, which isn't possible unless you violate the law of non-contradiction. That was my aim, took it through it, I got the concessions I needed. What I didn't get at the end, not that I was having that as an aim, which is why I ended the show at that point, because it's not a motivation for me to actually get that concession, although it was what I boldly declared right at the start of this. I want a concession before I explain what science is. No, that was a total falsehood, because I went ahead and explained exactly what science was and how it proved things to him with his concessions and affirmations about how it would and does prove things, and examples he gave me of things that were proven with it. So that was achieved. Me hoping that at the end of that he'd retract his outrageous statement that I'm a scammer for saying, quote, science proves this and science proves that, end quote, Jaren, is absolutely outrageous. I wasn't expecting to get it. But if I did, I wouldn't be tolerable of giving him another chance and trying again to educate him where he doesn't understand science, if that was my aim. So it wasn't. So not achieving that isn't the end of the world. Yes, I will endeavour to make further discussions with Jaren, where I disseminate again. Maybe we'll get onto the experimental stage next time, beyond the hypothesis construction. Who knows? We can only hope. It's only been 4 years so far. I'm sure with a few more years of attempts, we'll get Jaren on track understanding the empirical method of science, but we can only hope. I'll give it another go in 6 months. Anyway, massive thank you to all of you. Just checking, you can probably see I'm screen capturing now. It looks a bit rough. Massive thank you to all of you in the super chat. I'll just read out some of the super chats before I do close out this live stream. And indeed, if you're watching it on a premiering stream after the fact, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for smashing the super chat, but you won't be getting yours read out because it wasn't live. Shout out to High Score Boy, who says salute. I think there were some others before that I missed because my chat's not long enough. Is there a way to bring these up? Let's just have a look. I'm sure I can do it. Viewer activity. There we go. Shout out to JMiles24, who says, for $10, 4 more hours. Can I actually, would it hurt to put these on screen? Nah, let's just read them out. Also, shout out to Godzilla37, who says, Nathan 1, go home, for $5. Thank you very much indeed. Flat Earth Travolta says, let's pretend we live on a sphere, in quotes, Jeranism 2023. A quote from this show. Yeah, actually, he did say that, didn't he? Let's pretend we live on a sphere. Jeranism. Yeah, he did say that, didn't he? I don't know. I think perhaps you're taking him a little bit out of context there with his examples in the discussion. But yeah, very interesting quote nonetheless. Thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate it, Flat Earth Travolta. Also, into the break, he says, for $10, peace I leave you with. My peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world. Let's try that again. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled and do not be afraid. John 14:27. I thought it would be a scriptural quote, hence we wanted to get it right. Thank you very much for your super chat. Really appreciate it. Also, Rob Kine, or Keen, I should say. I know that. I should know how to present it. He says, Jaren is disingenuous. Thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. Also, High Score Boy says, salute. I think I did that one already. Last but no means least, Uncool Ben. He says, no need to read this out. Thanks for trying. Smiley face. And I think that's the sentiment in regards to, you don't have to interrupt to thank me for my super chat, but I really appreciate you making the attempt with Jaren. And that's all I had low standards, and fortunately, thank God, everyone around me had really low expectations. So I'm assuming that we're up, right? Let me know from the chat. That was net positive. And I think moving forward, we will have more success with Jaren, where today was very, very abrasive and aggressive. And I think people will critique him for that and say that to him and point that out to him, how a lot of what he critiqued me for right at the beginning was pure projection. And, you know, again, I don't hold it against him. I would probably be the same if I was cornered like he was in this scenario. And who cares? You know, Jaren and I will progress through life without any issues in this regard. I don't think it's going to be any long-term detrimental negative impact on me. Hopefully Jaren won't lose any sleep over this either. But as things move forward, I can only attempt this again. And as I say, I hope the chat will let me know that this was net positive. I hope so, given the low standards that everyone was achieving. Let's read out some of the comments, as I am specifically asking for you to comment from the live stream chat. So, Nathan owes me, says Neil. No, I don't. I'm asking to affirm the net positive result that I achieved here, Neil. I don't owe you nothing. I don't think you were right. I think I absolutely was justified in my attempt, and I think I was quite successful in it, in some respects. Given the low standards that you had, Neil, I would definitely think you saw that as a success. Nevertheless, you're all awesome, says Crockett. Thank you very much. I missed the part of celestial navigation. Did he say that you could get an angle from a curved adjacent? Yeah, he did. Yeah, I didn't want to cover that. I thought if we had time and I got affirmations earlier, I might go back on to celestial navigation, but I think I said in the preamble, which will come out on the... No, I think I did make it to the live stream, that I didn't really want to get into those sorts of wrangled angles. I just wanted to keep it on whatever he wanted to address, but moreover on the scientific claims of scamming when proving things, which is absolutely what science does, and Jeran affirmed it, which was good. Hopefully we can have more success with him, because once he understands this, he'll do better. And it's 99% of the way there, knowing that the pseudoscience pretender clowns never had any science, therefore weren't proving anything. But, you know, him throwing the baby out with the bathwater, saying you can never prove anything when you've adhered to an empirical method and got an empirical outcome and then benefited humanity with it, it's a stretch that I think the audience is going to be on my side with, and hopefully that will nudge him along in future to appreciate where he can do better and where he can win arguments with this. So, yeah, I will endeavour to do more with Jeran. Hopefully he'll reciprocate again. That's it. See if there's any more comments in this regard. The penny will drop by 2026 for Jeran, says Slow Motion Buggy. Maybe. I'll keep trying. It's been 4 years. I've tried with Glowbusters. I've tried with Jeran before. I've tried with Dave Weiss. I'll keep trying. I need to fire up the oven and make some tea, says Arwin. As I said, the scientific method stands on its own, says DALA. Thank you very much for all your comments. No, Arwin, I need to pressurise your oven, says Neil. Jesus, wow, says Flat Earth Sage. No blasphemy here, please. According to Jeran, it's pressure. Independent variable, Neil. Independent on its own, alone. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you in the Nathan Oakley 1980 members-only premiering stream, if you're watching it after the fact. Can't quite say both of you. Oh, I got another super chat. Oh, wow, thank you very much, Daniel Sandomingo, who just sends me money with a heart. Says nothing, but gives me $20. Wow, I like the financial love. Thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Last minute super chat, says Arwin. Yeah, indeed. But another massive, enormous thank you to, obviously, Jeran. And if he hears this after the fact, I hope he does. I am absolutely grateful. Yeah, you get an earful. Yeah, we're both hotheads. Yeah, we both talked over each other. Yes, it was a bit of a shit show in that regard. However, we're both reasonable people and will continue to be so. Jeran has done nothing but demonstrate his reasonable attitude in terms of his upkept communication with me, which is a massive, massive deal. So I do want to massively thank Jeran for actually even entertaining me. He didn't have to do that, and he did. I hope it will continue, and we will make more progress with him as time goes on. Also, of course, a massive thank you to all of you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member if you're watching after the fact and wanted to take part in these Nathan Oakley 1980 members-only live streams. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!